as follow. So if you're watching us on either one of these platforms live right now, please hit one of those two buttons. Red if you're on YouTube, purple if you're on Twitch. One thing I want to talk about real quick is we are also on all the audio platforms as well. You should see it in this graphic here. Literally, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, iHeartRadio. If you guys listen to podcasts on a platform and you notice we're not on that platform, hit me up on social media, email me, whatever. Make a comment on the YouTube. Let us know, because I want to make sure that we can have the podcast on the audio side wherever you guys listen. I also have some announcements to make. I'm super excited about this. Last couple months I've been super hard at work trying to get this album done for you guys. And the people who are going to get first access to this, I put the link right here. That's going to be the people in the Patreon. So make sure you guys are aware of that. Go to patreon.com/JaredSingerLive. You get first access to everything as we start doing some cooler and cooler shit this summer, as well as bonus content, discounts on merch and stuff like that as we start to roll all that kind of stuff out. So make sure you go there. That's where the biggest supporters. If you've already subscribed, if you've already done that and you want to step it up a notch, you can join for as low as $3 a month. It's not a lot of money, especially with inflation going up. I didn't raise my prices. Still $3 a month. And there's a couple other tiers in there too if you really want to go crazy. All right, we got some ad reads we got to make. Let's get this done. This episode of the podcast and every podcast we do here is sponsored by Tone Vault Audio and Media. Tone Vault Audio and Media was formed as a recording studio business by musicians in active gigging bands. Doing work over the years in multiple facilities as well as in a mobile fashion, simultaneously while playing in live gigging bands, the Tone Vault staff has developed the experience to know why quality, performance, and longevity of cables is important, as well as the demands needed for a great go-to top-of-the-line product for all your professional project needs, as well as live music application. We tried all kinds of cables, and of course we have our favorites. They, however, tend to have a price point that's not so favorable. So we decided to craft our own and make it a little bit more wallet friendly without sacrificing quality. We use these cables ourselves for our studio and music projects, and that includes me. My entire drum set is wired up with these, and we're currently in the process of rewiring the entire podcast studio. They offer a lifetime warranty with a 30-day, zero-risk, money-back guarantee. If you don't like them within that first month, just return them. After that 30 days, it's a lifetime warranty, just like any of the other big names. 24 karat gold contacts, 99% oxygen free, you know the deal. They're absolutely phenomenal. Extravaganza listeners can also use the code 15SINGER, that's 15SINGER, for an extra 15% off any purchase. So go to www.tone-vault.com/JSE and join the Tone Vault family today. This episode of the podcast is also sponsored by Marco V Cigars, the official cigar of the Jared Singer Extravaganza. In 1909, an Italian immigrant named Victor Vito landed on American soil. Despite only having pennies to his name, Victor smoked a cigar to honor his pursuit of opportunity and success. Starting with that first cigar, a tradition was born. In the Vito family, cigars came to represent pride in accomplishments and optimism for the future, and they still do. More than a century later, Victor Vito's great-grandson Marco honors his heritage with Marco V Cigars. Marco and his team's commitment to quality, flavor, and construction have established the company as a premier boutique cigar brand. Every step in the Marco V cigar making process is shaped by a drive for perfection. Farmers in the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua tend to their crops by hand, and the planting, harvesting, and curing are carefully guided by Marco V's tobacco experts. Dedicated research and testing have resulted in a leaf that cures with a rich, complex flavor. Each blend is aged for years to enhance the tobacco's deep natural sweetness, and every bale is inspected 6 times before the cigars are rolled by hand, never put through a machine. Quality still comes from the hands of the artisans. After a final inspection, the cigars are packed and shipped around the world. Overseeing the entire supply chain guarantees that every Marco V cigar yields the perfect celebratory smoke. Victor Vito's 1909 cigar represented pride in himself and his achievements. More than a century later, Marco V honors Victor's legacy with the highest quality cigars on the market. Create your own tradition, salute your achievements and your successes with Marco V cigars. Exclusive for Jared Singer Extravaganza listeners, just for you guys, same deal, baby. Go to marcovcigars.com and use checkout code Extravaganza15 to get an extra 15% off of your order. You can order my personal favorite, which is their Palladium, or you can order what I'm smoking on right now, which is their Maduro House Blend. Extremely affordable to begin with, and y'all get another 15% off this motherfucker. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Bud Ingram Lyle Photography. Bud is a photographer specializing in working with bands both on stage and off stage. His goal is to catch those special images that reflect the dynamic nature of live music, catching badassery since 1886. He also does portrait work of all kinds, photographing solo models or groups in his studio or on location. And yes, you can afford him. Okay, does all of my work. Extremely great guy, very easy to work with, extremely professional. Go to www.bilphoto.com now and book your photo shoot today. Book's out about 60 to 90 days, so whenever you're listening to this, just make sure that you understand you can't book him for this weekend's gig, you guys. This episode of the podcast is also sponsored by Shooter Lube. Yeah, baby, we're back. Shooter Lube's back, baby. Two-stage cleaning system, military-grade cleaning solvent. The new technology has you cleaning your gun better than ever. Our solvent is designed to penetrate deep into the metal, cleaning carbon buildup in less time than other leading solvents. The extreme weapons oil, that's the second stage. Standard gun lubricants and CLPs are outdated and a thing of the past, you guys. With the new cutting-edge technology, we're creating a new level of protection and lubricant. Unlike other gun oils that just sit there on the surface, extreme weapons oil penetrates deep into the pores of the metal. It forms a bond on and in the metal that does not wipe off, wear off, melt, or evaporate with heavy use. There's free shipping on orders over $50 within the United States, and there's a 100% money-back guarantee on all items. So join the revolution by going to www.shooterlube.com and use promo code SINGER to save 15% at checkout today. Yeah, I'm definitely current on everything. I'm obsessed with that show. I fucking love that show. I didn't realize I was wearing 2 pieces of television merch.
That's great.
When I was doing that, I just noticed that now.
I really like writing of shows.
Yeah, pull that mic back to you.
Yeah. To me.
Yeah, and you can pull it like and get comfortable with it.
Is this a boom? A boom?
Congratulations on your new endeavors.
Hey, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers to that, dude.
And
starts next week.
And welcome back, dude. So in 3 days, you're officially taking the leap to become a full-time YouTube content creator. I'm just kidding.
Been there, done that. Failed. Too much work.
No, but in all seriousness, you're really going balls deep or head first, however you want to call it, into woodworking. You're doing the Sea Lyons creations and Fret Knot products.
Fret Knot products, yeah.
Products.
It's like a dumb thing. I'm going to have 2 brands at once, but
well, I don't think it's stupid. Here, show people what the Fret Knot thing is.
Well, here's yours.
Oh, shit,
yeah,
really?
I didn't tell you.
Oh, shit.
So if you order a Fret Knot online, this is what you get in the box. I think you flipped it upside down. Should just be flip her over and lift up straight.
Oh.
Yeah, I send you puzzles on purpose just to confuse you.
Oh.
Where's the fun if it's too easy to open?
Yeah, okay. Nice.
So this is the Fret Knot, the standard. There's a couple of varieties. Variety.
All right,
depends
so
what part of
first
the
and
country
foremost, this is a badass can opener. Now, I always wonder, what is this end for other than hanging something? Hanging. Like, is there any actual
whatever
purpose?
You want it to be.
Because there's usually something on this end, and I've always wondered what the other end is for. No, but these are fucking rad, dude.
Yeah, it's just a regular bar mate, but it's made to shred beers. Like you would shred a guitar neck.
So do you make these necks?
You bet I do.
So
yeah,
you make these?
So I get the bar mate. I don't make the bar mate in my garage, but I make the rest of the wood stuff. It's got real frets in it. Depending on the kind that you buy, I have like different types of inlays. Sometimes I'll actually put like real mother of pearl in there if that's what you wanted. Otherwise, I've just got some wood dots. But yeah, I make the neck, try to make it like an actual guitar neck. I try to do pairings like
that's awesome, dude.
Like your typical
sweeps.
Exactly, dude. You could practice. You could just get your fingerings down, practice your bar chords. Because everybody loves to do bar chords.
I do. I'm a big bar chord guy.
If you're a bass player, you just push one at a time. It doesn't even matter. One note's all you need.
A bass player just
one note at a time. Yeah, bass player caveman. Ugh. You'll figure it out.
Well, thanks, man. This is awesome. And then this is, you send this kit with everything.
Yeah,
so they get a sticker.
Yep, that's pretty standard. If you do
a couple stickers,
mail order, I got a couple of stickers
and a couple pics.
Those are my business cards. Because who wants regular paper business card? That's boring.
That's legit,
Everybody's
dude.
got a shoebox full of those that
This
they
is
never
legit,
look at
bro.
again. Those are the pics you're going to put in your pocket and use. Probably lose. You're going to drop them on the
they're
floor.
They're going to end up in my dryer.
They're going to end up. That's
up.
going to end up in a dryer. They're going to end up on the floor of a show.
No, I actually have some Eric Vobeda pics up there. I keep them up on the shelf up there.
Nice. Do you have an acoustic guitar? You might as well throw it right inside of that right now. Just throw it right in the middle of it.
It's in a case. But
that's where it'll live.
I will definitely make sure I do that.
Yeah.
I'll put it up there.
Dude, it's a lot of fun.
These are all going on the fucking kegerator for Joe's just telling you about.
Slap them on there. These are just a fun idea I had for a long time ago. I was like, man, what's a cool... Like, who doesn't like drinking beer if you like playing in bands, playing music? But
yeah, even if you're like, oh, I'm sober, fine, non-alcoholic beer.
Exactly. It's the easiest gift, I think, for a musician. And it's fun because like I try to do different varieties. Like I gave you a standard. Here's like mine. It's just one that I messed up a little bit, and there's just different inlays.
Oh, inlays.
But I've got some with.
I thought they were hearts at first.
Oh yeah, totally hearts, because that's what I'm all about. Hearts and Lisa Frank and neon. Heck yeah.
Yeah, dude.
But I got
like it, man.
mahogany versions.
Thanks, buddy.
If you're like a Gibson fan or whatever, I got different inlays. I got ebony fretboards. Pretty soon
So what else are you doing with Fret Knot?
The goal is to actually start using, and I have a ton of them, I just haven't cut them up yet, cutoffs and scraps from the guitars that I build.
Okay.
And so then if you want like a 5 or 7 or 9 piece neck through...
Yeah.
Whatever, like laminate neck, I'll put that on the back of it. Or like,
okay.
I have different scraps of fretboard pieces that I don't use that I can put on there, things like that. And the goal is that at some point one day, I'll have other stuff to put out with Fret Knot as well.
So, like, where'd you get into woodworking to begin with, though? Like, is this something you've been doing since you were a little kid?
Yeah, I've been always building stuff, just tinkering. Like, I started when I was in middle school. I mean, this was like when not everyone had the internet at home. We didn't have the internet at home, so I went out to the garage and I was like, messing with my dad's tools and screwing shit up and trying to weld bikes. And then I was like, well, I found all these bikes in a dumpster. I'm going to cut these bikes up. My friend would come over. We're like, let's put that fork on that bike and let's do this and let's do that. And started welding bikes.
Was your dad a guy who knew how to do everything, or did he have like a couple areas of expertise?
He just kind of like tinkered and everything. My dad was a big like farm equipment tractor guy, and he would mess with stuff like that.
Do you ever remember a moment where your dad didn't know how to do something and then went through the process of figuring out how to do it?
Yeah, that's everything all the time. Growing up, just tinkering on stuff.
In the very rare occasion my dad didn't know how to do something and he had to figure it out, they would go to the library and check out a book and then bring that book home. And this is everything from building a deck to fucking working on a fucking small engine like a lawnmower or a mini bike or fucking... Dude, like, it was very rare that they didn't know what they were doing, but when they needed to learn, not only did they not have the internet or YouTube, dude, but these motherfuckers would like literally get in the truck and we'd spend an hour going through the library. Sometimes it was an older library. They had to go through the card catalog first.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'd but they'd find the book and they'd check that book out and then they'd sit there and they'd read it all night. And I was just sitting there next to them while they read a book. It was so fucking boring.
Yeah, dude.
But then once they did the thing, they were like, you don't need to read it. You'll just watch me do it. That was their big deal. They were like, I'll read, you learn.
Okay. Yeah. Books, magazines, talking a lot, hanging out with old guys.
That was the best.
Is probably like the number one thing I think I picked up from my dad that is where I feel like you learn the most. That's kind of how I started getting into woodworking. I was in like 4-H and was like, well, I'm going to do woodworking for the county fair because that's what you do when you grow up in a small town. You get ready for the county fair and you build stuff and whatever. So like I started hanging out with my grandpa in his shop when I could in the summers, and he was doing woodworking just for pure fun and working on the house and stuff. And that's kind of where I got the knack. And I just picked it up, got into high school, and it was like, well, every class is stupid except woodshop. Woodshop is pretty cool. I'm going to keep doing woodshop, and just, how do I do woodshop forever? Well, I guess I could become a woodshop teacher.
There is something intrinsically interesting about working with wood specifically. Like, making shit is cool. fabricating shit, because I worked in a sheet metal shop, dude,
Yeah.
you know, and we would make some wild shit, and it's cool. But there's something weird in a good way about working with wood. And it almost, like, the only way I can say it without sounding pretentious is it almost seems like you're tapping into, like, our ancestral history. It's like, this is the oldest thing we've ever been working with. Like, even before bronze, you know, and like the Stone Age, we were working with wood. Like, this is the oldest material we've ever worked with. And it really does almost feel like it's in our DNA, like some weird genetic memory shit. I don't know if you buy into genetic memory at all, but
it's everywhere. I mean, it's a natural thing. It grows outside. Any building that you walk into, there is something. That's one thing I used to say all the time when I would start a class. I used to teach a lot of, before COVID, I would do like community ed, basic woodworking, like 1 or 2 night classes or 1 day things. And it's just people like, well, woodworking, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but like, look around you. Look within the room that you're sitting in. How many things that you use every day are made of wood or whatever? But it's cool because it's like a natural thing. And I mean, if you really want it to, it can have a story.
Well, and it's not just that, but like working with it specifically makes you feel
super therapeutic,
a very different way than making other things. And I'm speaking from a creative person's perspective. I play guitar, I play drums. More importantly, I write songs. So I create shit from literally nothing. I create entire ideas and sounds and songs from nothingness in my fucking mind. Not even seeing something, you know. I'm not even that guy who's like, I'm not even, because I don't know if this makes me a better artist or a shittier artist, but I'm not even the guy who like is like, oh, I was inspired because I read this story. Like, that's not what inspires me, dude. Like, I think that makes me less of an artist, but who knows? I don't really know. That'll be up for other people to decide. But
the word artist is can be defined many ways or used as a label.
But isn't it interesting, though, how, and maybe it is just me that feels this way, but as a creative person who's made music, and like I said, I've worked in a metal shop, so I've brought things to life, so to speak, from a blueprint.
Oh, totally.
There's metal something significantly different, though, about working with wood. There's something really, really, I don't want to say spiritual, because that sounds pretentious, but there's something...
Yeah, some people have that kind of connection. I think, to be honest with you, I have touched so much wood that... sometimes it
I'm a 12-year-old.
Yeah, no, keep going. That's why I said it, dude. That's normally what I am up to, as I can make that joke around 12-year-olds, and it's okay to laugh at that. But I have touched so much wood that I'm just like used to it. It doesn't wear off. I still absolutely love it, but like, hey, if there's a piece of wood over there, hey, that's a sweet piece of maple, whatever. But if it's like different, if it's a little twingy, or like there is a tree that I'm currently working on getting cut up this summer that I cut down with my dad and my grandpa 4 summers ago, and the thing was littered with burls, like huge burl, 12 feet up. The rest of it probably has like 8, 9, 10 burls spread out through the whole thing. Just been trying to cycle my way through that whole tree, and every time I look at that, it's like, man, this is a cool piece, and I know where it came from, and my family helped me cut it down, and we moved it. So like, it's different. Each piece of wood can be different if you want it to. When I've built guitars for people and they come over and they like, all right, we're going to pick out the wood, like building guitars for the Cobra guys right now for Tim and Mikey.
That's cool as shit.
And so when we're done, everyone will have a mahogany body guitar.
Okay.
But all 3 of our guitars, because I made one for myself already. Too bad. All 3 of our guitars will be from the same piece of mahogany.
Oh, dope. That's cool.
So working on...
So it's like literally a family of guitars at that point.
It will be a family of guitars.
Not just same woods, but literally from one tree.
The same piece of wood. So everybody's going to be a little bit different. Guys are getting different styles. But like, that's going to be cool.
What kind of top are you putting on it?
Mikey is getting a quilted maple carved top.
Nice.
We're doing Les Paul style, a little different, couple little tweaks, a little tweak, tweak. And Tim is doing it's like a jazz / Mustang style, but we're doing a stabilized top for him. It's a new thing I've been working on for a couple of years. I do these stabilized top. So I take these burls, and burl can be really like punky and soft. If you've ever seen like spalted maple or box elder or like Buckeye burl is really popular for guitar tops.
Bro, literally, I swear to God, before we started this conversation, if you would have asked me, so how much do you know about wood? I'd have went, well, as a guitar player and somebody who like had to know a lot about wood to be a manager at a guitar center for a while, or a department manager in the guitar department.
Okay.
I know, like, I would give myself 8 out of 10. Dude, within seconds of you running your mouth about woods, that immediately, if you ask me to redo it, it's a 3.5 out of 10.
Oh, man, you don't get me started on the wood.
Dude, okay, let's slow down a little bit, because you're talking about all these woods. Now, where do you weigh in on the idea of tone woods in electric guitars? Do you think they actually make a difference? Because I do, but I want you to go first.
Yeah, no, it's a big.
I do.
This is a big thing. Everybody has an opinion. You want my opinion? I'm going to give you a big fat opinion here. No, it's all different, and it depends what you want to do with it. If I'm going to sit down, I'm going to play some like jazz, and I have a double cutaway semi hollow body, and I'm just going to play it out loud. Then heck yeah, wood has a lot to do with it. If I am playing in drop, God, who knows what, drop 8-string, E, F, G, fuck, some guys play in like drop X or whatever nowadays for all I know, and then they're like, yeah, I'm going to run this through this mega double humbucker, and it's going to run through this gate, and then through my double gain pedal, and a couple of heavy metal pedals, and all this high gain, and then it helps. They do different things, but it depends what you want. Everything is an acoustic instrument.
So, all right, here we go with the first official open.
First official
of the
pop.
Fret Knot. This is the official. If this thing falls apart, it's going to be hilarious.
The bottle will burst.
Oh, it was perfect. It was easy. Leverage. It took zero work.
There's so much algebra in that design. You have no idea. So much 8th grade algebra.
Jokes aside, it is actually a thing. Like it is basic physics, but it's still physics. Because there's a lot of fucking can openers where you like really have to kind of work to use
some
them.
of them.
And it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, dude,
I could use a lighter.
Easy. The barmaid's easy.
So basically, you're repurposing something that already exists. That's what you're saying.
But there's a twist on it. My own little twist. Not a twist top. It's a pop top. Twist top's not allowed.
I love it.
Return that to the store.
I love it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, acoustic instruments. Every instrument is acoustic.
So,
Tonewoods.
I agree with what you're saying for the most part. From a non-wood maker's perspective, I think where I notice the difference is a couple things. Sustain.
Yes.
Right? So if you built me like an all ebony guitar, it's going to have zero sustain. It's going to sound dead. There's going to be zero brightness to it. And you can put on pickups to it, but it's just going to sound brittle. There's just not going to be any warmth, any because there is. The reason I think the tone woods matter is because certain tone woods have certain resonant qualities. And I think combined with the guitar's actual construction, I think, ooh, careful. Madonna. Oh, don't drop Madonna. Don't drop Madonna.
I'm breaking Madonna.
You're not even that big of a guy.
Well.
You're a thick boy, but you're not a big guy.
Beef.
That's okay. None of those guitars are on that wall are worth very much anyways. And that's a free photo I got.
You didn't say I was graceful.
I got that photo, that Madonna thing, from an ex-girlfriend's friend as part of like a weird like housewarming thing like 10, 15 years ago. And then
see how easy that was? Oh. Should just put that right up to the mic. Psh, even the bottle liked it.
And then when her and I broke up, she wanted to take that photo, and I was like, "Fuck you, bitch! You ain't getting the Madonna photo." Oh
yeah, okay, no, yeah, I guess not.
I was mad.
Okay.
And I ran into that girl a few years later, and she's like, "Please tell me you got that Madonna photo." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You want it back?" She's like, "No, I just wanted to make sure that bitch Krista didn't have it."
Oh man. Okay, sorry, Kristen. Too bad. Hope she's not watching. Heartbreak Hotel over
here.
here.
There's no way she's watching this, and if she is, she can go fuck herself. She's a crazy broad.
So, tone wood.
Yeah, so I think sustain and I think construction quality and construction type, right? So, like, I absolutely can hear a difference in a Fender versus a Gibson.
Totally.
Even both using similar pickups. I can hear it, and it has to do with the resonant qualities, but I think more importantly, it almost has to do with the construction type.
Yes.
So like the bolt-on versus the dovetail of a Gibson, right?
Yep.
Or the neck through in like certain Ibanez's and
Yep.
certain things like that. I think that almost has more to do with anything, because to sit here and say the woods don't matter at all is fucking hilarious to me when there's been billions of dollars. Like that's like saying every single company who's ever thought it mattered they've all been idiots in spending billions of dollars. Like I hear people say there's no difference between an Epiphone and a Gibson. That's a laughable comparison. They just don't know what they're talking about. But to say the wood itself, tone woods don't matter at all once you put pickups in, I think is so disingenuous to two things. I think it's disingenuous to the guitar makers and the guitar buyers, because basically is what you're saying is it's like a 9/11 or moon landing conspiracy, and we've all been duped for years to nothing but marketing gimmicks.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, these companies wouldn't spend billions of dollars to look into what these combinations in different thicknesses and proportions and grades produce if it all meant nothing. Maybe it's exaggerated, and maybe it doesn't matter as much when you're putting EMGs in them, because that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
As soon as you throw EMGs in any guitar, they all sound the same. But that's an active EMG pickup.
Construction is big, and overall, what do you want out of the end product is the main thing. So, like, if you're first time guitar learner and it doesn't matter, and you're just trying to figure out play, it does not matter what your guitar is made out of. Hopefully it's not plywood, or hopefully it's not no shade here, but hopefully it's not like a colored pencil guitar or anything like that. You shouldn't learn on that. But it's all about,
is that
like,
a slight
dude,
jab at a YouTube channel?
No, it's funny that if you're making a colored pencil guitar, good for you.
No, because here's another.
I mean, it should come with a free coloring book, as far as I'm concerned. If that's what you're buying, like, here's your guitar, here's a guitar coloring book to go with it.
So here's my point. I've seen those videos on YouTube.
They're great,
and all of those guitars sound like shit.
Of course,
like not one of them actually sounds good. So
it's not made. It's maybe not made for that.
It's made to look cool, and I understand that.
It's cool.
But if tone woods didn't matter, then you could make guitars out of epoxy and colored pencils.
Yeah,
you could totally do that.
You could totally do that,
and it would sound the same as a fucking legitimate 1957 Gibson. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it doesn't for a reason, and it's not just the pickups.
But if that's what you want, if you want a guitar that looks cool, then that's fine. I mean, even those Dan Armstrong guitars, they're cool.
So let me ask you this.
It's solid acrylic, though.
So let me ask you this. They sound cool, but they don't sound quote unquote better. Okay, so let me ask you this, because I do subscribe to this. The biggest difference and why we don't actually hear a difference in these woods nowadays is a few different reasons. A lot of them are sawdust guitars. A lot of the guitars we buy in stores are sawdust guitars.
Can be, yeah.
They really are, until you start getting into like...
What store are you buying your guitars in? Are you buying these at Target?
No.
Are you buying these at Walmart?
No, but
buying it at the guitar store?
A lot of them are plywood and sawdust infused guitars. Like, it's just, they do it to cut down weight. They do it for they do it for a lot of things.
Okay? Oh yeah.
But the biggest thing, I think, is the age of the wood and the drying of the wood. We're cutting trees really young and really early. They're not sitting around and drying as long. They're not aging as long.
Depends where you're getting your tree.
Obviously. And I don't think the world foresting industry is a patient one. And that is a huge difference, because when you play a 1969 Gibson or a 1957 Gibson, which are rare and they're hard to find, but they do exist.
The good ones are
they
hard to find.
Legitimately sound different because that guitar has been drying out.
It's old.
For 40 years. And then it sat there in perfect dryness for another 40 years. So it resonates perfect. The resins within the tree have dried out and crystallized. And
it's like a broken in chair.
And now we don't paint guitars the same way either. We seal guitars. And so everything is locked into that guitar. It doesn't age the same. We don't build guitars the same way. And I'm not trying to say the old way is better, even though I kind of am saying that. I think it's disingenuous to discount the value of good wood in a guitar simply because modern day guitars aren't showing us the valor of said wood.
Well, you just have to dig deep. There are a lot of people out there who are making guitars out of like these crazy beautiful pieces of wood that do have great ring and sustain. And if you really want to, you're like, yeah, you know what? I really hate myself. I'm going to dive into the biggest nerd thing I could dive into right now. And here are all these people who are, really self-indulging themselves. You would dive into guitar wood theory with guitar builders, and then you would just sit back and listen to them all talk and go, yep, there goes the rest of my life. Here we are.
So it's an endless,
but it is fun.
It's an endless rabbit hole.
It is fun,
saying.
and some people are really into it and want to have strong opinions. Yeah, this is the way it is, and some people are like, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You can use plywood, and
I mean,
I'm just kind of like in the middle. Like, I know what I like, and I don't have to prescribe it to everybody.
Some truths to this, though, right? Like we've seen the competition. What's his name? Is it John Taylor or whatever the fuck his name was? Guy who builds Taylor guitars.
Yeah.
He built the pallet guitar to prove that he could build a better sounding guitar than Martin could. He had this weird little no, sorry. That's not. Somebody challenged him and he's like, I could build a good sounding guitar out of pallet wood. And they were like, no, you can't, blah 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 blah. And then he did it. And they were like, oh goddamn it. All right, I guess you are that good. Because construction has, I think, the most to do with it, and construction type.
Is big. Construction and type, yeah. I mean, if you want a lot of sustain, you should have a neck through guitar. If you want that snap and that punch, then a bolt-on is for you. If you're gonna make a couple thousand guitars, then you should make bolt-ons, and that's easy to do. If you're gonna make a bunch of neck throughs, you're gonna spend way more money on wood, and that's why they cost a ton of money, but they sound great. They're great for bass. So it all depends what you want. If you want a cool, flashy looking top, you can get a cool, flashy looking top. If you don't care, then you use a piece of basswood and you paint it.
Like that fucking Honer behind you. Yeah,
dude, there are a lot of high-end custom guitars that still get made out of basswood because it's just a super medium, plain sounding wood. If you want all the color from somewhere else, if you want it from the fretboard or the pickups or whatever,
my favorite
fine.
is the veneer tops.
The veneer tops are sweet.
That's my favorite. Is like, it's all good, and then they take a fucking normal piece of maple as your top, and then you can't really see it because they usually hide it in the binding. But then there's an even thinner layer of a really nice high level piece of like AAA fucking flame maple veneer. Or whatever.
So you should see
that bad boy on there.
My burl tops. And this is what Sealer is getting on the top of his guitar. So I have this piece of burl that's normally
Sealer?
soft.
I've been saying Siler.
It's Sealer, yep.
Is it Sealer?
Let's call him Siler.
I thought it
Good
was
old
Siler.
Timmy.
I thought it was Siler.
Let's call him Siler.
I have him in my phone as Siler Moon.
Yeah, he loves that. He's so happy about it. I bet he's never seen an episode in his life. That's fine, I haven't either. But he's getting this cool box elder top, and so like box elders normally, it's kind of soft. So if you hit it hard with your knuckle, like I put a dent in it. So they do this whole thing, this process where I stabilize it so it's not going to move. It's hard. It's impregnated with resin, and then if it's got voids or whatever, I just do a thin coat of epoxy around the outsides of that, and I fill it in, and then that is his top. His top's about like a quarter of an inch thick, so it's not like a huge tone builder or tone buster, but it's there, and it's like, it's going to look kind of cool. So yeah, we're going to throw a burst on there. It's going to be cool. Mahogany body, same as my bass, same as Mikey's. Les Paul body is going to be, and they're all neck through and baritone. We tune low, and it's going to sound heavy. It's going to sound cool. It'd be sweet.
Sick.
Brother guitars.
Are you plying the neck?
Yeah, Timmy's got we did a 5-piece maple walnut neck for him.
Hold on. I just realized we skipped. We need break this down for people. What the fuck did I just ask you? When I said, "Are you plying the neck?" Explain for people what that means and your answer.
So when you're putting a neck together, neck through, there are multiple pieces of wood in a row. You could do one piece of wood for a neck through,
and it's the length
of the guitar from the end of it all the way up to the top of the headstock. But it will probably move
like
a
rafters in a ceiling, but all right next to each other.
So we're doing 5-piece necks, so that means there's 5 total pieces of wood. 3 of them are maple, 2 in the middle are walnut, and they're just a different thickness, different pattern. And that just kind of helps, use less like large, harder wood to find.
And it kind of looks like pinstriping.
Straight. Kind of looks like
when
pinstriping.
You look at the back of it, it almost looks like racing stripes or pinstripes.
Yeah, trying to class this up a little bit, like tuxedo style guitars, but we're in a slow and low heavy metal show,
But it's not just a look thing. It adds to the anti-warping of the neck. That's why the multi-plies of wood are there, right? Originally.
Yeah, that it definitely does help, because it's hard to find a piece of wood that will not move, that would be that big for a piece of neck. So you cut a couple pieces up and make sure they're all straight and the grain is right, and without being super normal. Yeah, you can invert them depending on what the grain is like. You would do that on like a normal tabletop too. So yeah, so we're doing that with Timmy's. He's got 5-piece neck. It's gonna look sharp. Mikey's got mahogany, and we got mahogany.
And then the cut of the wood is huge too, especially if you're not doing applied neck, right? You want, and I always forget, which one do you want? It's either quarter sawn or
quarter sawn is generally
that's
better
what you
for
want
things that
for
are
a
not
neck,
going
right?
to move due to the. I'm not going to use too many big words here, but due to the direction that the grain is facing compared to like the cuts where
this shit's important though. This shit's important even for young guitar players to understand, because when you're buying a guitar, a lot of shit is thrown at you. When you're at Guitar Center, a lot of things are dumped at you. Data information is dumped on you to try to make something sound good. And it's like, you kind of want to like be able to read through the bullshit, and here's what you're actually looking for. Here's what you're actually buying. And I made a lot of people happy when I was selling guitars, because I would dumb this shit down. So I wasn't data dumping them, but I would give them all the critical information. Like even on an acoustic guitar, I'd go, how much, and this is the worst thing you should ever say, is how much do you want to spend? But I would basically get to that. And they'd go $500, right? And I'd go, okay, here's what your options are for $500. And I'd show them a piece of shit guitar with $400 worth of electronics into it. And I would explain that guitar is $500 with $400 of electronics into it.
Yeah.
Or this guitar over here is $500 and it has 0 electronics in it.
It depends what you want.
And there's the value between the two, and that's where the sale really took place. And usually they would end up buying the $700 or $800 guitar because they wanted the $500 guitar with $300 worth of electronics in it for tuning and plugging in and shit. But
the first thing people ask me...
It was an informed decision now is the point.
The first thing people ask when I tell them that I like building guitars, can you tell what does a thing like that cost? What do I have to pay you? It's like, well, how deep is this conversation going to go? Are you going to walk away from me in 30 seconds? I'm not going to give you a number. Right. If we want to actually sit down and talk about it, then we talk, because that's just kind of where I'm at, where I'm trying to get the business to go, is I want to build something that's cool and unique for somebody and special.
Well, just for anybody that's curious, if you want a custom guitar built, it's not going to be cheaper than going to Guitar Center.
No, it will not. But if you want it to be fun and you want something that'll be like heirloom quality and you want to have a little input, like I'll invite you over and we'll like sit down and I'll show you everything I have available. Like that's what the Cobra Boys did when they came over. It's like, all right, like here's the wood I have. Like, what? Tell me what speaks to when you touch this wood. How does it make you feel versus this piece of wood? Does this touch your soul? Does this touch your butt? Where does this touch you? How does it make you feel inside? Is it tingly?
The guitar,
are you warm?
Where it touched you?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I do. I lure my friends to my garage and ask them to touch my wood and make them tell me how it feels.
As somebody who's quitting teaching in 3 days.
Yes. This is what I do when I go home in my garage after 5 p.m. But yeah, no, it's fun. It's cool to have people over and be like, hey, do you want this top? Do you want that top? Do you want to be topless? No, I'm just kidding. That's not an option. We got to put a cool top on a guitar. But I have like different fretboard woods, and it's fun. And then you show people like, hey, if you just take this hammer and you tap on it, you can kind of hear what that sounds like. And that's the coolest thing. So if you ever had somebody like, wood doesn't matter for your guitar, and that's a big lie, they want you to spend more money, take a metal hammer and tap on a piece of wood. Go to Home Depot. Go tap on a piece of pine they have in the aisle. Mm-hmm. Then go to the hardwood aisle. Go tap on a piece of oak. Tap on a piece of maple. And you go, it sounds different. I guess maybe it matters.
Yeah, right. And it's not that it's the be-all, end-all, because, again, where I started this and where I want people to understand that I'm not being one of these hardliners on this issue is, as soon as you put something like EMGs in it, you're right. EMGs make every
It
fucking
sounds-
guitar sound identical. You're correct. And then once you put that through a PV5150 or a fucking Kemper actually, like as soon as you put it through an Axfest or a Kemper modeling amp, then it becomes even more relevant what you're actually playing. I agree. But
depends what you want.
But when you're going like fucking clean tone, normal pickups, passive pickups through like a clean channel on an amp, it does matter.
Yeah,
it fucking absolutely fucking matters, dude. And I've done it. I've literally been with buddies who were guitar nerds back in the day, and they would take guitar pickups out and or they'd have duplicate sets and have them in two different guitars with different tone woods, and that's the only difference.
Swap them around.
Yep. And
have you ever seen
there is a fucking difference.
Dudes with all those guitars with the modular pickups, and they can swap them in and out and slide them around.
You talking about like the magnetic one?
There's some magnetic ones
There's
too.
Some dude out there on TikTok who created exactly that. He's got his bass guitar, and then he's got a magnetic module that it's just his pickup setups. But he figured out how to transfer the electrical signal of the pickups through these magnets wirelessly, essentially. And yeah, he just fucking so he can go from this. And it's not perfect. It's really good. It's really fucking good. It's almost as good as a Kemper modeling amp.
But it's all about having fun. That's the coolest thing.
And for practicality in a live setting, you know what? If I'm on like I might do it in certain settings. But if I'm in like a really serious band like Tool or Metallica or Pink Floyd, like there's no fucking way
Pink Floyd, let's not count that one out here. You never know. Have you seen live at Pompeii?
No.
There's some what?
No.
There's some weird things happening there with guitars and instruments back in the day. But no, yeah. If that's what your gig is, then you're probably not doing that stuff. But it is fun to play with at home. It's cool that dudes do stuff like that.
Even if I'm Coheed and Cambria, even if I'm, where I'm going for a sound, and that's what I'm really getting at is like, it's one thing to record a certain way, and it's another thing to do it live, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to care about guitar tone more on a record than I am live, because live it's not going to be as noticeable. It's just not. You have the room, you have the PA speakers. There's so many things that color that sound.
So one thing I really suck at.
I just want to be at a certain quality level.
Yeah. I suck so much at this thing. Like I don't even try. I won't even pick one up hardly ever. Painting. I couldn't paint to save my life. You know how much theory there is around painting, and there's different colors and there's different paints that you can choose. Like I don't know anything about watercolors or acrylics or whatever your crappy Walmart paints are or Crayola, whatever. But people choose different paints for different things and different brushes with different lengths and bristles, and I like this badger brush, and I like this horsehair, I like this POS crappy Walmart synthetic, whatever. There's a different outcome. And guitars the same way. Anything out of wood is the same way.
Same thing with gamers and their obsessive choices over a mouse and keyboard setup.
I don't game at all, so I'm trying to stay out of that world.
But everything kind of has its nuance for a reason.
Does. Yep.
And it's not just
surface
marketing.
Level, or you can go down to Marianas Trench with anything.
I think when people say these things don't matter, I think there's a few motivations happening. I think they're either jaded, okay? They lack the nuanced understanding of the differences, or they're cheap / trying to justify the undercutting of what they've done, right? So like, for example, if a guy goes, there's no fucking difference between an Epiphone and a Gibson, he's either too fucking cheap to buy a Gibson and now he's trying to justify it, or he bought an Epiphone, realized there's a difference, and now he's trying to justify his undercutting of that quality. Or, for the previous two examples, like I said, he genuinely doesn't understand the difference, or he's a little jaded because he somehow got fucked over by Gibson one day. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he bought a shitty Gibson, where the guy was hungover and fucking did bad fret work. You see what I'm saying?
Maybe it hurt
like
his feelings. Who knows? Maybe that's why he's so hurt about it.
I feel like when people make those comparisons, though, it's just not accurate. Like this entire industry is built around this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm past a point of caring about all that, to be honest. It's like, yeah, you can have, that's fine. If you like it, then you like
Sure.
it, then you should play it.
Have
If
you
it
ever-
brings you happiness and it makes cool riffs or it makes sounds that you like, then you should play it. If it's making you mad, then you should get rid of it and give it to somebody else, and will make them happy.
Have you ever seen hydro dipping
Oh yeah, I've done it once or twice, a couple times. It's fun.
on a guitar?
Yeah,
That's what I want to do, dude.
it's fun.
Dude, that's what I want to do. I want to take, like, and that's why I'm thinking in my head, like, personally, I would do something like that guitar, that fucking yellow Honer, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like what you said, it's got an ugly top, so they just paint it, right? So I don't need the prettiest looking wood, as long as it's good wood and it sounds good. It could be the ass end that doesn't look great, but we're going to just put the lightest fucking coat of sealant on it.
Yeah.
So we're not deadening the guitar. We still get some of that wood resonance. And that fucking hydro dipping, it's like...
Dude, it's cool.
It's
fun.
so thin. And I think it'd be amazing, dude, if like you did your album cover and you had your guitar dipped and you have your album
totally
cover.
do it.
I know, dude. Dude, that's what I want to do.
If
man.
you try it, just get a bunch of pieces of scrap wood, practice first. Dude, that would be a great thing to sit in your backyard on a nice day outside with a 6-pack and just play with it.
Dude, there's a
It's
guy
cool.
I follow on TikTok. That's his full-time job. He sits there and he hydro dips car parts.
Stuff.
Car parts and he puts the
That's
fake
great.
carbon print on it.
Oh,
So it's like-
yeah, okay.
It's like, the fucking your mirror,
yeah,
right?
I getcha.
Your mirror shell, and he dips that.
I forget that you can print like a film, right?
Yeah.
And you just put it on there. You can have all kinds of crazy different patterns.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
and that's
see, I don't
all
wanna
he
be
does.
into that.
And
I'd
that's
be too
all
into
he
it.
does is carbon printing.
That's
It's
cool.
carbon, and then he just dips car parts, like literally exterior car parts, and just sends them off to people because they had a replacement of something and
Yeah.
they couldn't find the actual, so they want to be cheap. And
Yeah,
what the fuck?
that's cool.
Dude, but I want to do it with like actual, like your band's artwork. Do your album cover and dip your, because then you could even do it over and over and over again.
Yeah, you could. That's cool. That's a fun idea.
Every time you come out with a new album, you just re-dip your guitar. Boom, brand new artwork on your album or on your guitar.
Hydro dipping is fun. It's cool.
Sync it up with your fucking scrims. You remember how we used to do
Yeah.
scrims on
Oh
stage
my God,
locally?
yeah.
You had the side scrims
I've
and
seen
your
a few
banner.
lately.
They're
They
coming
haven't gone
back,
away.
baby. They're coming back, dude.
People want that.
I've been preaching
Check
it forever.
out. This is who we are. Look at our band scrim.
Shout out to fucking Sealy.
I'm not pooping on it
Not
because
Sealer.
I've been in some bands with some scrims.
Not Sealer. Let's
There's
test
too many
it.
Matts and
let's
and
test the
Tims in my
on-screen
life.
chat. Let's test the on-screen chat. Let's see if it works. There we go.
People are chatting. Thank you.
Shout out to the Sealy. What do you guys think of the new on-screen chat? I hope you guys like it.
We're screening chat online chat
I like your
online
wood.
chat.
You should like my wood. I'll like your wood
There's
if
many
you like
woods.
my wood.
I have many woods.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Many woods. I have lots of wood stacked in my garage, outside of my garage, in
So-
woods, in sheds.
Another
All
fun
over.
fact outside of wood talk, outside of all this talk about hardwood and softwood, and
I'm more of a hard
Dentable
than a
wood
soft
and-
fan.
I thought it was really interesting when I found out you were in The Light in the Ocean.
Okay, yes.
This was super recent that I found
This
this
is
out because
non-wood related.
last summer, I was trying to get them on the podcast. We're actually technically you guys, but I didn't know you were in the band at the time.
Right.
And I was trying to get quote unquote them on the podcast because I just thought they were cool and they were doing something super different from all
they're
my other
very cool.
guests. Very light, very soft music, very fucking whatever you want to call it. It just wasn't metal. It wasn't hard rock. It was the opposite
Not
direction
metal.
of everybody who's been on my podcast. So I was like, I want to get more diversity on, right? And I don't mean diversity as in the fucking virtue signaling way that people say it now. I mean legitimate diversity. Like,
Yeah.
these people aren't doing shit I'm normally into. These people don't think like me, whatever, right? And so I reached out to a lot of people. And last summer we were still kind of dealing with some weird pandemic shit. I think
was still
Omicron
there.
and Delta hadn't even come out yet.
I don't remember.
Or maybe
were also,
Delta was out, but Omicron hadn't. But
I think when we talked about it, we were in the beginning stages of being incredibly involved in recording the album that we We just released an album on April 15th, 2022. It's called Deep Reef Dream.
And you guys can find that by going to the link in the description.
You can find that in the link in the description.
Oh, hold on. I have a YouTube chat for this.
Anywhere else.
Check this out.
On the internet. Boom, there it is.
You bitch. No, it didn't work.
No, it didn't work. Okay, it's almost there. It is.
No, it didn't work again.
Oh, it didn't. We don't tell people that. It's coming.
It's not working.
But yeah, so we were in the midst of like diving into that. So we recorded the whole album ourselves, and then we had our mastermind mixer Chris Johnson mix that for us, and it went really well. So like diverging off of that on like our days where we could get together, we were like, we should focus on this for a while. So that's kind of what we were doing. So the cool story is this is Jake and Jared and I, and we have a new member now. I'm going to talk about him in a minute, Steve, because he is incredible. And so
we don't talk about anybody named Steve on this podcast.
Okay,
that's
gotcha.
a band name on this podcast.
Okay, well, we'll switch his name to Decker.
Just kidding.
And so Mr. S. Decker is a phenomenal improvement to our group. So years ago, this is the greatest Craigslist band I've ever had. We've all met off Craigslist. I met Jake the drummer years ago. He played in a band with me and a high school buddy named Dan, and that band was called These Hunks.
These Hunks?
These Hunks.
Oh, not These Hunks?
Not These Hunks. This was before that, but These Hunks?
Like with a question?
Yeah, it was mark? With a question mark. Yes, you were correct. Slight Dr. Brule.
I just want to know where the emphasis was. Was it on these or hunks? Like, was it these hunks?
Well, that's the fun.
These hunks?
It could be whatever you want. It was always different. These hunks?
These hunks?
These hunks? But yeah, it was always a question mark. So people were like, wait, is your band called These Hunks? No, it's These Hunks. So we played in a 3-piece. We had like a prog thing and Change of the Guard. And we found Jared on Craigslist. We were like, yeah, how are we ever going to find somebody that can just be what we want? And then Jared came into the picture.
Terrible first name.
Whoa, terrible first name. Who would name their child? Anyway.
Somebody who hates their child.
Good for those parents. I'm sure they're very loving, but we won't get into that. But yeah, so the three of us started, and we were another great band name, Tom's Hank. We were Tom's Hank for a number of years, and then I had to step away. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I still love the music we made as Tom's Hank, but I had to step away from the band because I was gonna do some more professional endeavored stuff. Something really dumb like getting your master's. Don't do that. And yeah.
Anyway, so hold on. You have a master's degree in teaching.
I do.
So you were a teacher for a long time. You were on the podcast last summer with your other band, Cobra Czar.
Correct.
And
me and Timbo and I,
which is hilarious because we've had, I think, all of Cobra Czar on except for Viscetti.
Yeah.
Is he not going to do it?
He's not a talker. I love him to death. He doesn't want to talk.
I invited him on the podcast and he didn't even respond to my message.
Viscetti wants to show up and just do metal vocals and annihilate, and he is amazing at it, and that's what he does. But yeah, so we did Tom's Hank. I left. I did some of my own stuff, and then I had an opportunity where I was like, man, I'd really like to play with those guys again. And it worked out where when I left, they kept the band going, a lot of the same ideas we had, and they just changed the name to The Light in the Ocean. And so then when it was my time to I had more time, I was like, this is a thing I want to do now. I want to get back into playing with these guys. And the coolest part is I approached them and I was like, I would love to play with you guys again, but I think it would be cool if we tried to do some stuff that's really different than what we used to do in terms of adding new instruments and the way that we write and we play, and we should do some looping and just get really weird with it and not worry about playing out, but just stay in our basement. And not mom's basement, our own basement, and just kind of dive into different soundscapes. And they were like, we actually posted a Craigslist ad for that yesterday. And I was like, no kidding. And they're like, well, we're going to take it down. We're going to play music with you again. So I was like, perfect. So we wrote the album through COVID. We started recording it a little over a year ago. And we got through. And the last album they put out a year ago. Was it a year ago? 2 years ago. Big, huge, long name. The Pseudoscientific Study of Cryptozoology, something like that. We'll look it up. It's great. They wrote some amazing songs. The last song on the album featured an amazing melody that our drummer knew this guy named Decker, who is an amazing violin player. And so for this next album, when we like finished it all up, we didn't finish it, but we were working on it. We're like, hey, we should send this to Mr. Decker, and he should put some violins on it. And he sent us back some amazing takes on songs. It just totally took him to another place, and we weren't expecting it. We're like, well, we should have him do more on more songs. And then we got through, and we're like, well, we should just ask him to be in our band. He's so good. And so now he's in our band, and he's featured very heavily on the new album, The Deep.
And his name's not Steve.
Dream. It's not Steve, Stephen, and the Decker. And
is it
yeah.
Steve or Steve? Yeah, is it Steve? How do you spell it? Is it Steve?
Stefan
P-H-E-N?
Dakar. Yeah, Stefan Dakar.
So you can just call him Steph.
Sure.
I don't know
He
why
might
I'm
not like
pretending.
that.
I don't know why I'm pretending I don't like the name Steve. I had one good friend named Steve, and I've never been fucked over by a Steve. I'm just pretending. I
feel
don't
like
like
a
that name.
Steve is always a solid dude. You're never gonna get screwed over by a Steve. They're
Right?
just a solid guy.
Yeah,
you
they're
can
just
call
always
when you
solid
need it.
cats.
My freaking I blew a flat here in my car. I'm gonna call Steve. Steve will show up and help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My cat escaped and got pregnant. I need to get rid of all these kittens, and you just give them
Steve
a pillowcase.
will help you
and,
find homes for those kittens.
Oh, I meant that. We'll go with that one.
That's what
way
you should go
That's way
with.
more wholesome than
yes,
what I was
it is.
thinking.
Steve will help find homes for those cats. He'll do what needs to be done. Yeah,
Oh,
so the
that's
band is
hilarious.
going really well. It was cool to like leave, and it was tough. It was rough. It was gruff, and it worked out that I got to come back in right when I did. It was the best thing for me. And the music we made, we're super proud of it. It's super cool. And they went from a 2-piece band to 3, and now we're at 4. And I think we're gonna cap it there. So, but it's been super fun.
No, why not go to 5 or 6 or 7?
We could. I've been there, and it's fun, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, isn't it?
What's the biggest band you've ever been in?
5.
Okay, I had a 7-piece band at one point. That was cool.
What were the 7 pieces?
Oh man,
Was it a DJ involved?
there was no DJ involved, but we did have a bongo player. Love you, Charlie. And we had a
Bongo
horn
players
section.
aren't funny. I didn't mean to laugh that way. That's not why I laughed. I laughed is because it was bongo player in response to DJ. Like, no, it wasn't a DJ player, but it was
we
a
had a
bongo
bongo
player.
player.
Not even remotely related. It just caught me off guard.
No DJs for us. No, it was cool. No, Light in the
No
Ocean is
DJ for you.
definitely not Cobra Czar. It's definitely very different. If you want to call it lighter or whatever. We just label it prog rock because we don't know what else to call it, and we all love prog rock.
So did you miss a show with Cobra Czar recently or something? Because I swear I seen a flyer.
If I did, I don't know it, so maybe I did miss it.
I swear I seen a flyer where my buddy Justin was suddenly in Cobra Czar. Like, I'm obviously out of my mind because you're still
I think
in
this is
Cobra
new to
Czar.
all of us.
No, you guys must have done a show with his band
Probably.
and
What band's he in?
Simathwa.
Oh, that Justin.
He's also a bass player.
He is a great dude.
And I must have just like skimmed through it a little too quickly and saw him in a picture and like for some reason thought he was now in.
He could have been. He's
Cobra
in Den
Czar.
of Thieves now.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that what it is?
Yeah, he's a great fit for that band. That's
Makes
a cool
sense.
band. Yeah, Justin rocks. Yeah, we have played with Simathwa.
That makes way more sense. He's in Den of Thieves now, not.
He's in Den of Thieves
Cobra
and
Czar.
Simathwa. So, but yeah, we like him. Hopefully, he likes us. I think
Shout out
so.
to Justin.
Shout out to Justin.
One of my favorite piece of shits. I'm just kidding. I think you're a great guy.
Piece of. He's multiple shits. Wow, Justin, we need to get together and we need to discuss this. I'm very interested now. How you're multiple piece of shits.
Well, you know when somebody's like, "You're the shit."
He's the shits.
Yeah, dude. He's
Well,
like,
that's pretty. Oh, okay. Oh, which way is that going to go?
and he's too.
We're sorry, Justin.
He's too dope to be contained in one shit.
He is too dope. Yes,
He's
very
too,
true.
He's too dope to be in
That
one
guy's a
shit.
great artist. Yeah, he's a cool dude, and yeah, he's a good dude. He's not in Cobra Czar that I know of. I think I still am.
Last time you checked.
Yeah, last time I checked.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool though. Light in the Ocean's way different than the Cobra Czar, and yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. So way different. There's soft times, There's heavy times. There's weird times. There's spacey times. It's all over the place. Yeah.
Well, congrats, man.
Thank you.
I'm happy for you, dude.
Appreciate
You're doing
it.
a bunch of cool shit. You're doing a bunch of cool shit, man.
I'm trying. Grab that album. I want to hold it up. I'm super proud of this. This is way fun. This is what we did in the pandemic. So we have Deep Reef Dream. We have 9 tracks. It's like 40 minutes. And there's some cool stuff. It's pretty all over the place. There's one song on here I worked on for like, just tinkered, just plucked away at it for like 4 or 5 years. And then I brought it to those guys and they were like, yes, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this. And it was a song and it was cool. So
that's the Light in the Ocean album?
Yep, this is the Light in the Ocean album, Deep Reef Dream. So like, I got to tell everybody this. Our drummer is nuts, Jake.
Who did
rules.
the cover for this?
Jake plays.
Who did the art for this?
The art, I can't remember the name. I think their last name is Tag. It's a friend of our guitar player's, and it was a painting. It's a painting our guitar player has in his house. He's like, let's use this for the album. I was like, yes, please. And then a buddy of mine, John Soley, did the digital aspect of it, where he added the text and did the backside of it in the disc. So shout out to them too. And turned out really cool. Super fun. Weird colors. I like the weird colors. So, but our drummer, he drums, and then in the middle of a song, he'll pause drums. He'll play a sample pad. He'll turn around. He'll play his keyboard. He writes these amazing, super weird, moving, melodic keyboard parts. And then we used to do some like small like hand drumming things. I can't remember what it was that they had that they used. And now he's got a drum machine, and we do that. Our guitar player plays saxophone. He plays
saxophone.
Oh,
saxophone.
Saxophone actually is what he plays. And then he also plays keys, and we both have synths. And then I'm doing synth and trumpet and bass, and then all 3 of us sing.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And then how do you pull this off live?
We do pull some of it off live. Sometimes we have to loop parts. Sometimes we'll just do the straight. We'll sample it with the sampler. We'll trigger it if it's just like too difficult. But we do all the singing.
So
together.
That must limit you a little bit as to where you can play. You got to have, when you're playing live, obviously you need either your own sound guy, or you need a sound guy you can trust to pick that shit up and learn how to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And you need a PA capable of sounding good enough to do that. Because when you're playing in an undermanned, under PA'd room, like this is where the old school rock and roll Jared has been preaching for a couple of years, and I want to like adopt this, and I'm glad you're on because this is a great segue into like the new. I think people have been misunderstanding a lot of what I've been saying. Is there's some old school philosophies and fundamentals from the old school way that are wise and should still be taken seriously to this day, which is having good gear and pro level equipment with enough headroom and wattage, right? Where you can fill a room if the PA isn't there to support you.
Yeah, if that's what you needed to do.
Right, because oftentimes that's what is needed when you're not already big. But when you're in a band like yours, I think it makes it a lot harder because you either need to bring your own PA or you need some sort of guaranteed assurances that the PA is going to be big enough and sound good enough to where when you do play that sample, it actually sounds good.
Yeah.
When you play those loops, it actually sounds good because there's a lot of places
it was
that
a
just
big hurdle.
won't.
And we don't really like try to play out a lot. We'd like to kind of maybe get into that more. I think we've talked about it a lot and different approaches of it because we've had so many cables forever and so many things. The hardest thing for us is we switched 2 years ago to practicing. We've got one of the Behringer X32s. If you're up on your gear, you know what that is.
Explain to people that aren't.
Imagine just like it's a 32 direct input interface, and then you can mix everything digitally on there and send it back to your in-ears, headphones, whatever
and
it is
custom
that you're
mixes
using. It's
on
custom
the
mixes. You can EQ stuff. I mean,
very similar to what I've
like
explained on the podcast with my setup, but bigger. Like
it's like a live recording interface that you can EQ and add whatever you want to.
Yeah, I have fucking 20 tracks, and I have 7 unique mixes I can push out. It's the same exact thing, but much bigger.
Yeah. So that's how we practice, and it's been really cool because our ears aren't super exhausted at the end of the day, and we have so many things that it's hard to like hear this keyboard sample when everything's pumping through a PA, and we don't have a ton of money invested in our PA because we just don't want to, and we have this other stuff. And then when we sing, so it's just easier. We started doing that route, and so now we're like, oh man, well, no matter what, when we leave and we go to play live, like it's never gonna sound the same, and it will be more difficult. So like that's been a thing, and so we're trying to still navigate. Like I'm trying to switch up my rig and how I have like I've tried to run like my vocals and my trumpet through different pedals and loopers all at the same time. And like the way I've done that, and like, well, how many outputs do I have? And then like, well, I'm not going to bring all this stuff to a show and be like, well, I need 5 outputs for my effect pedal loop with my vocals and my trumpet. I'm not going to do that. It's like, well, I want to show up and have like 1 output. So like just trying to navigate that and playing live. We're like, yeah, it'd be cool if we could pull it off. Like we could pull it off live, but it's just a lot of work to like kind of funnel it all down.
And that's always
so
the challenge,
easier.
right?
It is a challenge.
And that's always the challenge in the modern day world of what we're doing musically, because it's so easy to overproduce in our home studios with everything at our disposal and all these pedals and all this crazy shit. And then the challenge is, how do we replicate this live? How do we pull this off live? I'm still of that old school mentality where it's like, no, you write it and do it all live. And then, and then you just try to capture that on record because you're already ahead of the ball now. But that's just not the way you make that style music. You do not make that style music that you're talking about this way.
We do like the X32 though, because we're able to record everything live. We're definitely like
in a jam session.
Get together, and just a lot of jamming is where most of the songs come from.
So do you play different bass rigs in each of the bands you're in? Like, do you have completely different setups for gear, or do you just dial your shit in differently for each band?
I kind of just turn a couple knobs here and there for the most part. So
explain to people the difference that don't get it off the top of their head.
Yeah.
The difference between Cobra Czar and The Light in the Ocean. I mean, it's
Cobra Czar is
Angels and Demons.
Is low tuned, heavy metal, rock and roll, balls out in your face, just loud and just old school tube amps. And that's how that is, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like that. Big, pure American heavy metal, which is way cool. And then The Light in the Ocean is very dynamic. Like, it can be heavy at times. We'll go really fast, and there'll be a blast beat here and there. And then we'll turn around, and there's like light, like samba clicks, and we're doing something like maybe a tiny bit of a reggae beat or something, or it's there's no drums at all, and it's just like a jazz melody. So it's very dynamic. So with that one, the bass that I'm using is a jazz bass that I built, and I do a lot of. I actually use my tone knob. I was super against tone knobs forever, and the last 2 years been like, I like this tone knob. Do a lot of rolling up and down at the pickups, so I get different volumes from different pickups, and I just kind of tweak different fuzz pedals, like a little bit here, a little bit there.
So what do you play? What is your current amp setup? Because obviously you probably made your own bass.
I made my own bass for both bands, because why not? That's what you do when you build guitars. You're like, yeah, I trust my guitars, and this is how and why. So if I want to play somebody else's guitar, then I will. But I don't want to. So for Cobra Czar, I'm running a Fender Bassman 300 through an Ampeg 410 and a 118. So it's a 300 watt tube head. Fender Bassman 300.
Okay.
And that's a 300 watt tube head, 2 channels, 1 clean, 1 overdrive, lots of balls, 10 band EQ, built-in compressor, super cool, dream amp. Trying to get one for years. Finally got it a couple years ago. Super.
So that's what my next question was going to be is, okay, what are you playing, and then what's the dream? That is the dream.
That's the dream. I have it. I already own. If I was going to get anything else, I'd maybe get one of those Mesa Boogie 410 115 all-in-one cabs. So right now I have a 410 118.
Somebody asked me the same question. They were like, tell me about your dream guitar rig. And I was like, I think I already have it.
Yeah.
I might. Honestly, if I was going to go anything different than what I have, I would experiment with cab setups. And it would be about like building the perfect pedal board to like have all the versions of everything I want.
Yeah,
but for me, the 5152 for me is the perfect amp, because what I can do with tone between guitar setups, right? Whether I'm playing a Fender or a Gibson, tone knobs is a big one, right? Going single coil humbucker. But tone knobs is one of the biggest ones for me. And then you give me the 2 different channels on my amp, clean and distorted. Plus I have a boost channel. Dude, I can pretty much do whatever I want in that 5150. Like, I've used that 5150 at country gigs. And people are like, holy fuck, dude.
You just have to play with it.
I can't believe you got that thing to sound so good. I'm like, yeah, dude, you just got to know what you're doing.
You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you have and what it can do. And if that's what you want. Like, I've had some cool amps. I've had a bunch of Ampegs over the years, and I love them. They're great. But like I also know that like the Fender that I have, like it fits for what I want Cobras are to sound like for my input, my perspective of it. Same with the Light in the Ocean. Like it sounds really good, but we're doing all in-ears. We're not playing out loud. So I actually switched. I'm trying out a what is it? It's the Neural Quad Cortex. You've seen those. It's like one of those X effects in a pedal things.
Okay.
And there's a whole bunch of pedals, but it's cool. So I'm like,
well, and bass is a weird world when it comes to this stuff.
Bass is a super weird world. I mean, realistically, you don't need all that stuff for bass. You can just DI. You can compress and DI. You're good.
Dude, bass is an interesting vibe because my bass player for the Tyrants regularly was approached by legitimate guys in the industry, and we were a shitty rock and roll band. We didn't even draw 250 people ever. But we would play good shows, and people knew about us from past relationships in the industry. And guys would come out and check us out, and they'd fucking regularly walk up to Kevin and be like, dude, your fucking bass tone is amazing. What are you running? He runs a Crown fucking power amp.
Yep.
He is running the Mark Bass 810.
Yep.
But then all of his actual tone, other than his guitar... which is the fucking Mark Bass, or not Mark Bass. He played an Ernie Ball.
Okay.
I don't remember which one it was. I don't remember it was a bongo. I don't remember the pickup setup.
It was an Ernie Ball.
Whatever.
Cool bass.
It's a legit Ernie bass. I don't remember which one it was. It wasn't that low end cheap one. It was the good one.
Yeah.
So that helps. But it was a Sans amp. It was a little tiny fucking box.
Sans amp.
A Sans amp. Yeah, and so he filled the room with his amp. He filled his amp. He filled the room with his amp, but then he DI'd into the PA, and they would just balance and blend the two. So when you were in the room, Kevin's bass wasn't just coming through the fucking 15-inch subs.
Yep.
It was also coming through his 8-inch speakers.
Yeah.
And it was the blend of the two where people regularly came up to my bass player, and they're like, dude, your tone fucking crushes, because Kevin understood good bass tone.
Yeah.
And he bought the equipment to get there. And that's what really matters for me. Like, it doesn't actually matter to me if you use a Kemper or you use a tube amp or you use a solid state. Is do you know how to dial that amp in to get where you need it to be?
Yeah.
I have
do you know how to get what you want?
I have an issue when a guy knows how to dial in his tube amp, and then a guy who doesn't know how to dial in a solid state sits side by side and tries to tell me they sound the same. That's where I have an issue. Like, no, they don't, dude. They don't sound the same. They sound very different, and you just don't understand the subtleties between the two.
If somebody's happy with the way their stuff sounds, that's awesome. There's a ton of gear I would love to try out. I would love if I got to try out some like Emperor cabs or something like that. That would be way cool. I would love to use that for like Cobras are, but then like when I hang out with the Light in the Ocean, it's like, well, I'm gonna plug straight in and we're just DIing. It's like if you show up to a Light in the Ocean practice, the only thing you'll hear are the drums and then like us like tapping on the keyboard, like,
oh, that's got to be so annoying.
And so like if you just walk in, you're like, oh man, but as soon as you pop the in-ears in, like there's a whole world of different things. Like you don't. It's funny. It's funny. Like if somebody leaves to go to the bathroom and you come back and like you hear guys on their keyboard and Jake's on the drums and he's like doing something. Yeah, it's a live drum set. It's all mic'd up and everything, and you can hear the drums.
It's a live drum set.
Yeah,
and acoustic drum set.
Yep, acoustic drum set's all mic'd up. So, and then as soon as you put on your headphones or your in-ears, and it's like
interesting.
Yeah, it's like stepping into a world of color. It's
that's
cool.
super interesting because like for me, where I came in, it was so much to do with like literally feeling the actual music in the room, like the actual air pushing the vibration.
So if you show up to a Cobras like practice,
that's what it's like.
Yeah, yep, it's big, it's loud, and sometimes it's maybe a little bit too loud, and somebody will be like, hey, we're too loud today. It's like, yeah, I guess we're too loud today, but it's fun. It's way cool. It sounds cool, doesn't it? It sounds cool. I want to turn my volume now about past 2 for once, you know?
Well, and we used to do that at Tyrants practices where it was like I was constantly trying to get the guitar players and bass player to turn down, right?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't hear my own drum set.
Sometimes you can't hear your own thoughts.
And I was always a big proponent of like, let's challenge ourselves and put ourselves in uncomfortable positions at rehearsals, because that way we're more prepared for bad situations at shows. And so one of the guys took my own logic, used it against me, and they're like, well, you know, you're constantly preaching about being ready for everything. How about we let us be too loud? Like, how good can you be when you can't hear your own kick drums. I was like, touche, challenge accepted, my guys. And because that is part of the deal. You get a bad mix. You're sitting on stage like, oh, we don't have the ability to support all of that, like da-da-da, or dudes' in-ears are broken. You know, like what happens live when the in-ear system goes down right before a show?
Yeah, to be honest,
I've
never see when we do.
Are you even prepared to go on stage without in-ears?
I've never been in that position. When the Light in the Ocean does it, we did like the old school way, where it's loud. Last time we played a show, I showed up with both cabs. Our guitar player brought both cabs. It was super overkill. We didn't care, and we just blasted it. And that's what we did. So I've never done like the big
and that's really
in-ear thing.
For me, it's not about right or wrong. It's about reliability. Because you remember there was a band, they weren't from town. They were from Iowa. They were called Dystrophy.
The name sounds familiar, yeah.
Dude, he had this thing called the Brain. And this Brain was supposed to have samples, backing traps, loops. It was supposed to control their DMX lighting equipment. And this thing never fucking actually worked. Right? Like, I think I seen exactly one show where that thing actually worked, and it was amazing when it all worked.
It's all about what you want to do. If that's what guys want to do, you want to push buttons and be digital, you can do that. I'm having a hard time crossing over. I'm definitely like, well, I just want to turn the real analog knob and make it happen because I know it's reliable and it feels good.
Well, for me, it doesn't even
good inside when you turn that knob and something happens.
Well, and that's the thing is, for me, it really has nothing to do with like what I really want. It's what do we know we can pull off reliably over and over and over again. Because there's people paying to come to these shows, even at a low local level.
Yeah. Even
when you're only drawing 150 people or 400
$10 is
people.
$10.
Dude, people are paying money. They're getting babysitters. They're coming out. And if all of a sudden, like, all this tech. Because, dude, I remember Dystrophy being 20, 30 minutes late for their own set because their shit wasn't working. And then they have to panic, and they're all having a miserable time on stage because their gear isn't working.
Yeah,
so I'm always
like
terrified to add too much. That's why I always give guys shit for overly elaborate fucking pedal board setups. I'm like, man, you don't need all that. I'm like, you don't need all that, dude.
You don't, but it's
I've also seen guys not be able to chase down and troubleshoot which pedal is failing or which cable's failing because they got too much live.
Yeah, that's why you figure it out beforehand.
Yeah, if everything goes well. But
if everything goes well, yeah.
I don't know. And
Everybody wants to do it their own way. It's fun.
And I'm not trying to start shit about this. I'm just literally like, I have to ask these questions because how do you guys mentally deal with this? How do you logistically deal with this? Because there's a lot of guys, including myself, that are like, that seems like a lot of work, a lot of problems, a lot of things that can go wrong.
We stay in our basement.
Let's stay with the old trusty.
Yeah. Light in the Ocean, we stay in the basement a lot. We would like to play out more, and we've talked about how to figure it out. And when it's that time, we'll do it. For now, to be honest, we just like writing more music all the time.
Right.
We just put out this album they put out their album in 2020. Was it 2020 or 2020? Anyway, 2020 I think it was. And they put out that new album, and we had the next album written like 6 months after they came out. And just started refining it and then started recording it a couple months after that. And so like we just put this one out in April. We picked up Steve officially in the band earlier this year. By the time this came out, like we already had like 15 to 20 minutes worth of new music. It's not refined, but it's new music, and we have that. So like at this point, like the next steps will be keep refining, and probably like by the end of this year we'll have another album written. So like that's just kind of what we do. And like preparing for a show means you have to slow down. You have to stop doing that, and you got to prepare the show, which is fun too, which is way cool. But we just like to write the music. And same with Cobrazar. Like we have a bunch of stuff that is sitting behind the curtains right now. Some of it's on a hard drive somewhere, and some of it's not. And we got all kinds of stuff. You just got to keep writing it. And
so how do you guys write songs? Like, does a guy show up with an entire song written and you guys put your spin on it, or does it start off as just one riff? Like, where does an idea start from?
Yeah, most of them come in like somebody will have most of the song done. And then sometimes it's like, hey, I've got this riff. Check out this riff. Or I don't know what else to do. I've got these two riffs. And then from there it'll be, oh, well, I have this other riff I was kicking around. Like, we have one song like that that's just long and slow and heavy, and it's a amalgamation of a bunch of different riffs from all three guitar players. And then a lot of the songs are like, Sealer, like, hey, I've got this song, and this is the order it goes in. It's like, yeah, that's cool. And then the coolest thing about playing with Tim Java is a really good compositional writer rhythmically.
As a drummer?
As a drummer, yep. So that is super cool to play with. So yeah, most of the time, most of the songs kind of done, and then we just sit around and we tweak them over the weeks as the weeks go by, and then we got a song.
That's
yeah.
good.
It's weird to think about how you write songs because everybody does it differently, and some people are like, well, this is how you should write a song, and some people don't care. Some people can write a song in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's always an interesting one when you're writing songs, because some of them do come in 5 minutes. Like, almost as long as it takes to play the song is as long as it takes to write it. There's very little going back. It just kind of naturally. And that's like when people ask me that question, it's always, my job is to steer the canoe down the river and not crash it. Like, and if I get to the end of the river, or when things slow down, that's the end of the song, then I've done my job.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I'm in my real, true creative moments, is I'm just kind of not getting in the way. The song kind of writes itself, so to speak.
And that's the most fun part. So like on this album, like this was cool. So we wrote, there's a song on here called Tijuana Sunset. And there's some super Herb Alpert vibes in there because I love trumpets music and I'm a nerd. And in that one, we wrote that in my garage during COVID. One time we were just kind of messing around, and I had my trumpet out, and I was like, "I'll try this," and we did that, and it turned into
exactly
a weird,
like
different song. It does sound exactly like that. That was a sample, actually. And then there's a song like Cyclops. Like Cyclops, I wrote the melody like 5 or 6 years ago on my acoustic guitar, and was like just dinking around with it, and then like tweaked it over like 5 years, and then I brought it to them, and they were like, "Whoa, yeah, like do this here, do that there, move that." We did that, and like that's a song. So like, and then the other one was just like, it was all jams. We had no idea, like, well, how do we put this together? And just, we figured it out over time. Like, well, this was just jams over a couple months, and then it was a song. And the other one took like 5 years. Sometimes we'll get together with Cobra and we're like, yeah, these riffs fucking bang, they hit hard, and then boom, week or two later, we're like, yeah, the song's done. And then there are some songs where it's like, man, we've been pushing it this one, and we don't know how to do this part, and you work at it for a few months until it dials in. So songwriting's fun. It's all fun. It's supposed to be fun.
It is fun, dude. I'm gonna fucking see if I can slap this bad boy in these two fucking scenes real quick here. Let's see if I can
slap
pull this
that
up.
bad boy in there. Not physically.
Bam.
Electronically, digitally.
Let's see if we can get it in this one now. Let's see. And are we gonna get it?
What do we got there? Look at those captions.
That one worked. Let's see if we can get it over in. Oh, did we get it in the second one?
Do people read words? Does anyone know how to read words anymore? I'm just kidding.
We'll see if it made it into the second one. Oh, it worked. Oh, look at that.
Look at that. It worked. Beautiful. Yeah, songwriting's fun. Corbrazar's fun. The Light in the Ocean is fun. Everybody should check them out.
Call me Master P, bitches. Na 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 na. You big hip hop fan? I'm not. I'm not.
I am not hip to the hop. We'll put it that way.
I used to like 90s hip hop
when
I was a teenager, and it was good. Like when they were writing songs and like being artists.
Yeah. I don't. It's like that and country music are the two things I don't know about. If you're gonna ask me,
you know what's ironic about that though, dude? The country musicians are some of the best musicians.
Yeah,
on
they
earth.
are.
They are
really
so good. Like, I get it. It's cool for us to be like metal guys and like, look how fucking, dude, these motherfuckers are actually good.
Versatile.
So good. So good.
They are. Yeah. To be honest, Jazz 88 is the probably most commonly played radio station in my car.
Jazz 88.
Fuck yeah. Oh yeah.
What is it about Jazz 88?
I don't know what it just mellows me out. Most of the time I like know the programs that I like to listen to.
No shit.
At different times at night. Like they have a Jazz Futures program. Sometimes it's like cool classic jazz fusion. Sometimes it's some weird thing that you've never heard before. Sometimes they have like grooving stuff on. Saturday mornings they have like the bluegrass, and it's like, all right, it just kind of fits.
Really?
Yeah. And then other times I'll be like, I don't want to listen to this, and then I'll listen to some Black Dahlia Murder now in my car, please.
That's the real question, is like when you're burnt out on music, like for me it was always coming home from rehearsal. What do you put on the radio when you're coming home from rehearsal?
Oh boy, so I started practicing silence 2 years ago. And it was really hard because I am not a person that likes silence. And so I just started turning the radio off. A lot of times, if it's a really good band practice, I will turn the radio off. Because reflection.
Do you know how interesting it is to me that we have to practice silence nowadays?
Yes.
Like,
makes sense.
Oh, but 100 years ago, this was not a practice. This was a regular part of your life.
Yeah.
Was just sitting with your own thoughts. Nowadays, it's something you have to go out of your way to figure out how to make time for.
Oh, yeah.
That's fucking weird, dude.
It is weird, and a lot of people distract them. You just distract yourself with the little LCD screen or whatever it is. I don't know. LSD screen in front of your face, and you tick and you talk and you book and you face and you snap or whatever. I don't know. It's fine. I try to steer away from some of it. But
it's weird though, dude, because it doesn't seem natural to sit in silence anymore. It almost seems like you're fucking weird now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, what's that guy over there doing? Like now, normal, if you see a guy sitting on a park bench on his phone, that's normal. But if he's sitting there without a phone,
yeah,
and he's just sitting there like looking at the world, in his own thoughts, right, or watching the birds or whatever the fuck. Now it's, what's that weirdo doing over there?
Yeah, exactly.
He's fucking stalking people.
Yeah,
he's
so
I like pedo.
I like silence in my car sometimes.
Weird. Me too.
Yeah,
dude. That's where I started listening to sports talk radio.
Okay.
Because I was too young to get into politics or that kind of shit. So I wasn't ready for NPR.
Yeah.
But I was a huge sports fan. And it was this idea that I couldn't handle any more volume or stimulation. And so I would drive and I would just turn on sports talk radio. And of course, the time I'm getting home, the time I'm driving, it has nothing to do with Minnesota sports.
Okay.
So I'm not actually listening to the Giants versus Padres game.
Yeah.
Or them talk about the Giants-Padres game. It just happens to be what's on ESPN radio at the time.
Yeah.
That's exactly where that same... And that was fucking almost 20 years ago now, dude.
Okay.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah. Otherwise, in my car, I normally turn on, I don't know, whatever CD is closest, I guess. A lot of times, too, I will listen back to... like when we record our jams and stuff, that's like an easy time for me to kind of zone out and drive and like try to pick out parts of jams. It was like, oh, these 20 seconds we did this thing and it like that was cool. Like we should keep that. And then like, well, these next 30 seconds, like it was cool. We just did this, but like, oh, and then we get to this one spot at like 3:40. Like, oh, that was really cool. So I
and are you doing the same thing in your head when you're practicing silence on the way home from rehearsal?
Definitely. Yep.
You're thinking about that music. Things are repeating in your head.
Yep. And what I find too, that's really fun is, and maybe this is me because I'm weird, and so like if I'm just driving home after a really good practice, I'll drive home and I just think like, man, that was really good. Like, what did I really like about that? And why do I feel really good right now? And I don't think about anything in particular, and you wait. And the thing that is the best, if you're mentally square and aware, will come back into your mind and it will permeate through all the other thoughts and you won't even notice it.
So give us an example.
So it'd be like a melody. So like when we wrote the Tijuana Sunset song, like we left practice, whatever, a couple days go by, one of us will text each other like, dude, I cannot stop thinking about that melody. It's like, yes, me too. And we'll be like, oh yeah, this melody like was really good. We like this about it. That kind of thing is cool. Where that's why we record the stuff, because we can go back to it, we can reference it. But the best part is we know it's recorded. We can reference it if we want to remember it. But a lot of the times we don't have to, because it'll be a day later and we're like, I can't stop thinking about this one part. The one thing that somebody wrote, that one riff that somebody brought in. It's in my head and it's stuck, or like a certain melody. Yeah. So that's the part that's fun to me and cool. That's why I like practicing the silence in my car.
There's a lot of guys that used to take that a step further, and they'd be like, no, we don't record practices because if you can't remember it, it's not worth remembering.
Yeah, that's fine too.
You know what I mean?
That's fine too. It depends what you're doing. I mean, like, some guys are all improv all the time and they can remember stuff. Some guys can, like, I'm a person who has written a ton of stuff and didn't get recorded. I don't remember it because it was in the moment. Because
right.
Remember when you did that thing? That was cool. Like, yeah, that was cool, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, most of what I do is pretty memorable as far as my own like memory goes. Like, I'm like, oh, if it was, I remember that part. Yeah, I was doing this thing. Let me see if I can figure out what I was doing. I remember how it felt or what the vibe, whatever, right? But then there's been almost as many times, if not more, where we listened back to a recording and I'm like, what was I doing there? I was like, that's dumb. And then I listened and I'm like, oh, but that's a cool idea. Maybe that's what I was actually trying to do, is get to this idea, and I was just fucking around on the way there. That's a cool fucking idea. Let me see if I can flesh that out again. Like, that was kind of cool. What was I trying to do there? And then usually I end up getting back there or even coming up with something a little cooler. But I still feel like that's not as often. It's not as often where I go back and like continuously rehash shit that didn't. Because if it was actually dope, I would have stopped rehearsal. I would have literally stopped the group and been like, bros, hold on. There's something here. Let's fucking jump back on this train and let's fucking rock this, dude. Like, you do this thing you were just doing there because I got this new. And
sometimes you miss things, and that is hard
that's
too.
True. That's true.
I do anyway.
Yeah, because I'm so focused on what I'm doing, I don't hear that moment of inspiration, and later you catch it on recording. I think honestly, I think everybody should record their rehearsal, even if it's just
it's a hard mirror. It's a really hard mirror to face, and I don't think that everyone is always ready for that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I've been there. Sometimes you're like, I mean, I'm not calling anybody out, but sometimes some people think like, man, I'm so good. And maybe what you're trying to do, it doesn't sound exactly like you think it does in your head. I'm guilty of that 100%.
Yeah, a lot of guys don't see that until they're in a position where they're recording and their track gets isolated.
And that happens too. And sometimes it's just, well, when I practice by myself, it sounds this way.
That's me every time I record drums, by the way.
Good. You just sound amazing. You
I sound like shit. I'm sitting there recording drums and I play it back and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, what am I even doing with my life? Like, I should quit and find somebody who's good at doing this.
There's guys out there. You can
pay
them.
The idea's good. But
no, it's fun too to like hear back and be like, well, the way that I do that at home by myself maybe doesn't sound good when I'm doing that with these other people, and it needs to be different to blend more, if that makes a difference.
Yeah, we used to say cutting through the mix.
Exactly.
And usually
it could be tone.
I usually use that in regards to tone, but that also means literally the part you're playing. Like, sometimes what you're doing, and I'm actually talking about myself, so I'm like talking to myself almost right now. It's like sometimes what you're doing, sometimes what you're doing is stepping on the toes, or my phrase is stepping on the dick of the lead guitar player right now.
Oh wow!
So he's not able to cut through the mix because you're busying up his solo. Like,
how many Richards are in your band?
I mean, they're all Richards.
Okay.
The whole band is full of big fat dicks.
Just a bunch of Richard Clarks, huh?
Just big fat.
Just a New Year's Eve bash for everybody, all around.
But for real, for me, it was a big ego check of like learning. And I think it helps me because I play multiple instruments and I've written songs on multiple instruments. So I understand, like, now's when the drummer needs to fuck off. Because the lead guitar is going to come in and this is a verse. So don't put a fill every 4 bars.
You know what everyone in metal's really good at? Overplaying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Overplaying is a really, really hard thing to get over, too.
I'd say 95% of metal musicians overplay.
I mean, depends what kind of metal you like to listen to.
Yeah.
Does sleep overplay?
I wouldn't put bands like Blue Ox or Cobra Czar in that argument of like bands that overplay. But that's why
Cool,
I said
fair.
that's why I said 95%.
Yep, there's another 5% who are
Right.
too bong ridden to know that they're not overplayed.
Well, that also includes because, dude, I was joking about this with who was I just talking to on the last podcast? Jack. I think it was Jack. Jack Swagger was the last podcast from a band called the Soviet Machines.
Okay.
They're a punk rock band turned. Now they're basically just kind of a straight up rock and roll band.
Oh, nice.
And we were talking about this exact same thing though, like the overplaying idea, right? And the vast majority of us absolutely fucking overplay.
Yeah.
And then there's like, and where why I'm referencing this conversation is I said there's got to be, I bet, at least 1 million bands per year are started in this world and never even play their first show.
Wouldn't argue with that.
I mean, shit, I'll start a band a year. Sometimes it's a joke, like, oh,
It's hard not to.
Let's start this band, and we start this band, and like, we never do a single thing with it. But technically, we started a band.
I'm gonna start this new band. We're gonna take over the world.
I don't think
no one's ready for it.
Right. And sometimes it's just for fun. You know, sometimes you record one song, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yep.
But that was still a band that got started. You recorded one song and nothing ever. That's why I'm saying, dude, I don't think it's crazy to say there's probably 1 million bands a year that get started and never even play their first show.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an exaggeration.
What was your favorite point in your life of starting a new band? Like what age group? Like, I don't know, period, season of your life, whatever.
I think it was in my early 20s because I had enough equity in the industry to where when we started an idea, we had the energy, the lack of obligations, and the connections to where within 2 weeks of having an idea, you could be in a room together making the music. And within 3 months, you could be on stage.
Less life restrictions.
Yeah. Plus the energy.
Plus
the connections to make it happen. All within, basically, you could take an idea.
The littlest amount of fucks to give.
And if you worked hard enough, that was the other thing. For us, we were talented enough and we worked hard enough to where within 120 days, so 4 calendar months, you could have an idea and have a fucking 40-minute set written and be performing on stage. I'm not saying you'd be great.
So what do you think about...
do it. You could pull it off easily.
How do you feel about band chemistry? Because now this is my podcast. I'm going to ask the questions here. Just kidding. But like, what do you think about like chemistry within the room? Because it matters.
I think it matters more if it's a real band. And I think it matters less if it's a project. So for me, I think you got to look at
the outcome,
chemistry versus understanding of your roles, right? So if you're hired to be in a situation, it's less important that we have chemistry together. It's more important that I understand my job.
Yes.
I'm not a real band member. I'm just the drummer. I'm just here to play the drums that have been presented to me.
Yes.
Or whatever. Because it's not a real band, it's a project.
That's a great way to put that.
If we're in a real band where we're bros and we're all equals and it's a democracy, then chemistry is the most important thing.
Yes.
But I've been in situations where I don't fucking like the singer.
Okay.
I don't. And I don't need to like the singer because I'm being paid well enough to be here and I understand my exact job description. I'm not in a band. I'm a musician who's been hired by this group to play for this artist. That's what mattered.
That's
because
cool.
As soon as you get a lead guitar player in that scenario who thinks he's bigger than his job description, you have fucking actual problems. And it's a different problem than that same exact scenario in a real band.
Interesting situation, yeah.
But you have that you have that same problem in real bands all the time. But if you guys have enough chemistry together, you can just go like, let him fucking think he's the band. You know,
There are things, yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
So I've had plenty of bands where I've like played and I always like it and I get along with anybody. I don't have drama or issues, but like, so I'm going to keep talking about Cobra Czar and The Light in the Ocean. The chemistries are way different. Like, everybody gets along in both bands. Everybody loves hanging out. When I get together with Cobra Czar, we've got our songs and it sounds ripping and we're getting loud. We're having fun. We like practice on Friday nights, so it's Friday nights. It's way fun. And things get loud. It's a lot of fun. We're having a great time. We're locking it in. We're sitting in the groove. Things are tuned up. It's great. And when I get together with The Light in the Ocean, we have a lot of times where sometimes we'll just pick up our instruments. We won't even hardly talk to each other at all. Once instruments get picked up, and like one person will do a thing. Like it's not pre-planned. It's not like, hey, I came up with this riff. It's like one person like, oh, listen to this tone on my synth or something, or listen to this tone I just found on my guitar, and they'll like play a riff, and then the next person will be like, won't say a word. We just pick up on it, and then all of a sudden the drums start, and 15 minutes will go by, and we'll be like, whoa, we just did a thing there. That was kind of cool. Maybe we should keep some of that. And like, that's a different level of chemistry. And then I've had the same thing too, where in the past, like, I've been a hired gun at times. Like the time I learned the most about playing music was actually I played bass in the jazz choir in college. And it wasn't a thing I wanted to do. And the choir director was like, I need a bass player. And I had filled out on some college form that I like played bass, and I had played in high school jazz band, and I got an email. He was like, I need a bass player. Can you play jazz bass? I was like, well, I don't know. I guess I'll go try this out.
You should have replied, I'm a little better at Yaz flute.
He didn't need Yaz flute. I was also not up on my flute playing at the time. Still working on it. Not
jazz flute. Yaz flute.
Yaz flute, yes. What is Yaz flute? So anyway, I ended up doing this jazz bass gig for a year, and the choir director, he was an amazing pianist, and he was this world-renowned composer. He had a composing contract with Warner Brothers. They put out his own book. Dr. Pat Liebergen, rest in peace. Amazing dude. Had a hard time. Yeah, there.
What is going on upstairs? These fucking dogs are losing their goddamn. Shut the fuck up!
They're having fun up there, and so a lot of people had a hard time connecting with him because he would be so into a piece of music. Like, it was his life. And I watched him play the piano, and I've never seen someone play, like, he would play the piano. He was so into it. He was sweating. Like, there were sweat marks all over his piano and his keyboard. And some people were like, oh, it's gross. And I was like, you know what? This dude, you are playing music. He is living in music, and he would talk to people, and it was cool for me because I was in the band. I learned my parts. I showed up and I just played, and he was directing the choir. So my job was just be solid, play with the drummer, try to enhance this. He's working with the choir. So I got to learn a lot just by watching him try to work with people, and the way that he would talk and describe things. It took me a long time to realize, like, when he's talking and I don't get what he's saying, it's not because he's like doesn't know how to communicate. He is so good at music. He's communicating on a different level. And you could look at people's faces and see that person is confused. That person is not having a fun time. That person is intrigued. That person's attention is totally on him. That person gets it. And that was the most I ever learned, was backing him up. And he didn't follow music. He knew the melodies and he knew the chord charts. And he would memorize a piece of music, and he would play melodies with his right or left hand when it needed to be. He would stop playing when it was like, in the soprano section and it was emphasized. And then there were tons of times he would just rip a solo.
Just shred.
He wouldn't even tell anybody. He was just like improvising all the time. And it was kind of like, that's not in the music. You just did that. And I was like 19 and just kind of really getting into like playing like that and into that kind of music. And it was just kind of like, okay, this guy's at a totally different level. And that's why he just talks different. It was super fun. And I'm super glad I got to be his hired gun, so to speak. For
and those guys are super rare too, super rare. Like those guys that are really in it. Those are basically the visionaries, right?
Yeah,
and those are and I've been in situations where I'm supposed to be the guy, and it's incredibly difficult to get an entire room full of people to see your vision and execute it. Or even, try.
You have to be a lot of things. You have to be the right kind of personality. You have to be a communicator. You have to be a leader. You have to be the driver.
It's so hard.
It is. It's different.
And you also have to, like, again, because if you're not paying people enough, that's a big part of it. You have to pay people enough.
Yep.
It's not just paying people, but you got to pay people enough to overcome their sense of entitlement. Because when you're trying to get a group of people to realize your vision, to get them to kind of subdue their ideas because they think they know better. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying they don't know better, but to just even get to your idea. This is, I hope everybody, including you, understands what I'm saying right now. To just even get your idea actually executed.
Oh my God.
First is almost impossible.
It's so much work.
I don't think I've ever done it. I don't think ever once have I gotten a group of people to take my piece of music and actually do it exactly the way I hear it before we start bringing in new versions and new ideas. It always gets, I'm going to use the word perverted, but some guys would say tainted, some guys would say twisted, some guys would say adopted, whatever, adapt. Almost never. In fact, I can't think of a single situation where the original idea actually was ever executed.
No, it doesn't happen.
It's always changed along its path. Yes. And that's kind of what makes music one of the most unique arts out there.
If you're open to the collaboration.
Right.
And that is the cool part. So like you can have a vision and just push that on people, and if you understand how to do that, that's great. And if you have those hired guns, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have found a lot for me, like some of our best melodies on this record, some of our best compositional things that we've done in Cobra Czar have all been through collaborating with each other and just the push and pull and the give and take. And that was another thing I learned in the jazz choir, was like, that was when I really learned. It was like, okay, this is like, I really love when I'm just pushing through this 3/4 waltz beat and I am the center of attention and I'm just crushing this moving part. It's like, no, I don't matter.
Right.
I'm driving the bus, but nobody's looking at this bus driver. People are checking out. People are checking out who's waving out the bus in the back.
You know who was elite at this? Was the bass player for Van Halen.
Oh yeah. Dude.
Dom. Yep. Dom.
If you read like dumb bass player stuff, like I used to read a ton of articles in magazines when I was young. Like, oh yeah, dude, what did it take to play bass? Why are you such a good bass player? And the one thing that's always repeating is guys say you just gotta groove and you gotta play what's best for the song. And when a bass player figures that out and they take that ego ball and you just crumple it up and you throw it out the window, that's where it's at.
I think that's literally true for every single person,
ego destroys everything.
Except maybe, even the vocalist.
Except for David Lee Roth's sweet vocals on early Van Halen. Go ahead, fight me.
I'm a huge David Lee Roth fan. I think he's the shit. I think David Lee Roth.
I love David Lee Roth.
I think David Lee Roth is the greatest frontman of all time. I think, even though he's not the greatest lead singer, even close, I think he's the greatest frontman of all time. But also his ability to talk in a song on a regular basis, not just sing, but talk.
It's noise. It's just talking.
All of the fucking Hot for Teacher shit. The fucking...
I don't feel tardy.
I don't feel tardy.
Sometimes you just got to reach down between your legs. Ease the seat back.
I'm going to say this wrong. Laranaga Brothers?
Laranaga Brothers. What's up, Andy?
Isn't it Laranaga? Nyaga? Isn't it Nyaga? Because of the little thingy above the thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that how you say it? Drop your questions in, guys. Drop your questions
I'm probably
in.
saying it wrong.
We'll start fucking around. We'll start having fun with chat here.
So my favorite thing.
I gotta take a leak soon anyways.
I know you've listened to those David Lee Roth vocals only tracks.
Oh my god, it's impressive.
They're super fun to listen to.
They're
hilarious.
Impressive. They're
impressive.
They're legitimately impressive because
he's an interesting cat to listen to talk.
Dude, especially if you understand who David Lee Roth is. Like, I know he's been on Rogan, and I know Steven Tyler's been on Rogan, but this is where people are like, why do you do your podcast the way you do it, dude? Rogan already does it better. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm not Rogan, and Rogan's not me.
Why did I write this Metallica riff when they did it better? Because it sounds cool and it's fun.
Rogan honestly shouldn't podcast with musicians. Like, it's just not the right vibe. Just like
Can't say I've listened to enough of it.
I don't do well when I interview comedians. And that's why I'm actually booking more comedians going forward, because like
those are my favorite podcasts.
I'm not on, I know, with Rogan, right? They're always the best. But I'm not good at riffing with comedians yet. Joe Rogan's not good. So he actually should do more musicians is what I'm getting at. Because, dude, when he's sitting down with David Lee Roth and he's sitting down with Steven Tyler, and these guys go weirdo lead singer on it and they start singing to him through the mic, like... It takes another musician to be like, dude, stop singing. Like, stop singing. Let's, like, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's break this down because there's way more things going on here. His obsession with, like, big band jazz and show tunes, I'm talking about David Lee Roth, when you understand who he is and where he came from and his motivations and his inspirations, and then you listen to Van Halen vocals, and then you listen to the David Lee Roth Project, to the California Girls, to the fucking Bright Lights, City Lights.
It's a cool. He's got a cool. It's a different mindset.
It makes sense.
Got a cool mindset.
The whole thing makes sense in its own linear progression. Like that old Chris D'Elia joke, right? Everybody thinks they're the star of their own movie, which we are.
Okay.
We're all stars of our own movie, right? But nobody is the actual star of the movie. And Chris D'Elia, as much as I think he's a piece of shit, I think he actually said this really well on stage. He goes, I'm probably not even the star of this movie right now. He goes, I'm on stage right now thinking I'm the fucking man on fire because I'm the one on stage, but the movie's probably actually about some dude sitting in the fucking back row arguing with his girlfriend right now, and I'm just the asshole comic on stage in this scene.
Could be.
Totally the best way to look at things.
Yeah.
Because David Lee Roth is a character in most of our movies. But if you actually watch the David Lee Roth story, man, it all makes, because dude, when
he's such an interesting.
Why am I saying this? Because
interesting guy.
When I went to his concert, and one of the biggest criticisms I've ever heard about him is he talks too much during songs, in between songs.
Do you think David Lee Roth loves attention? It's a rhetorical question.
I think he loves certain types of attention. Because if it was just about the one type of attention that most lead singers want, he would have never become an EMT. You don't become an EMT for attention. You become an EMT for glory. You know what I mean? Like, you want to really do something important.
Yeah, and if you don't know most of his story, I'm familiar with some of it, not all of it, but he's lucky to have a life that he can live where he can do those things and just choose his focuses. He is just an interesting cat.
Dude, he studied martial arts in fucking Japan for a long time.
Somebody said right before Andy's comment that they had a good time at the Goat Horse show with Cobrazar. Thank you. Hell yeah. What was that comment? Is Steel somebody? Steel something was their name.
Steel Corner. Put on a hell of a show.
Heck yeah,
before
dude.
Ghost Whore the other night.
Promiscuous Goat Show.
Steel Corner says he enjoyed the set.
Promiscuous Farm Animal metal concert we played the other week. That was a great time. The Goat Horse show. Thanks for coming out, dude. That was fun. We had a blast. Man, that was one of the most fun cover sets I've ever played.
Yeah, don't worry about it if it's not actually a question.
We were having a great
fine.
time.
Favorite bass player and why? I got to take a leak while you answer this question. Favorite bass player and why?
Favorite bass player and why?
Take your time.
Favorite bass player and why is hard because of context and tone. Everybody's going to say Cliff Burton because who doesn't love Cliff Burton? that was probably, I would say Cliff Burton was one of my bigger influences growing up. Because when you're 15 and 16, who doesn't love Cliff Burton and early Metallica, and that's all you play? I would say a lot of Flea. I always forget that I liked a lot of Flea when I was in high school learning to play bass. That was a ton of fun. Man. I'm never good at favorite of anything anyway. So, favorite bass player. Yeah, that's tough. I find new bass players all the time. I really like Dan Briggs from Between the Buried and Me. Cool tones, differentiation. He's got different projects. I really like the Trialscapes projects that he did. Different tones. That was a 3-piece: drums, bass, and saxophone. Man, I'd have to sit down and look through my Spotify. Yeah, a lot of the classics. The Cliff Burton. Cool tone. If you have cool tone, I probably like you as a bass player. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Thanks for coming out to the Cobrazar show at Goat Whore. I saw somebody said that. Yeah, a couple killer bassists, man. I'm drawing a blank. You put me in the spot. Oh, yeah. Like Tool? Thank you. He sounds like... Yeah, who doesn't love Justin Chancellor's bass? Sanders is chiming in. I don't remember. I think somebody said that to me once at a show. We always laugh about it. You sound like Tool, man. Thanks, guy.
Dude, there was an actual band in town. For a while, and I knew the bass player. I met the bass player at a Vikings show or a Vikings game. His name was Ryan. I think it was Ryan Nelson, and he told me about this band he was in. We were trying to get him to be in our band, and it was hilarious because when he told us his band name, I was like, "They suck." Because the band name was just so cheesy. I was like, they can't be good.
Like Tom's Hank?
Like, no, that's so cheesy. It's amazing. Like, that's different levels of the spectrum. Was not a great
Google choice.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Did you mean the Tom Hanks? No, anyway.
No, it was great. Tom's Hank is a great band name. This one, I can't remember the name of it. But like a year and a half, 2 years later, I end up working a show. Like a legit mid-level national show. It wasn't Target Center or anything crazy. It was at I don't remember. Let's just say it was Star Central. It wasn't Star Central, but it was like that. Like about 1,000, maybe 1,500 person venue. Again, not First Avenue. Not even around anymore. It was in Mounds View. I can't even fucking remember the name of the goddamn venue. But it was short-lived, but it was legit. And this band is opening for them. And I recognize the bass player. I'm like, that's that fucking dude Ryan. And I'm like, and his band's really good.
Yeah.
But for the life of me, the entire set, I'm like, they sound like somebody, and I can't fucking place it. So I turned to Dave Rolling Cloud Jackson, of all people.
Oh, yeah.
Happened to be standing next to me because we're working the show together. I think he's actually one of the bookers or buyers of the show. And I turn to him and I go, who do they sound like, and why can't I figure it out? And he goes, the singer sounds like Maynard James Keenan. And it was like, the fucking Plinko chips all fell perfectly in a row. I'm like, that's exactly. This guy is trying to be Maynard. And he was great. Like, I'm not saying this in a shitty way, but that's exactly. It was like, oh, they're trying to sound like Tool. Now, the whole thing clicked. Yeah. It all made sense. And it was like, they were actually a good band, but they had one of the worst band names of all time. Still can't remember it.
That's all right. Yeah, sometimes it happens.
Pinwheel. That's what it was.
Oh, I remember Pinwheel.
Pinwheel. Great band, terrible band name.
I think that's sometimes it's fun, too. Like, some of my favorite bass players have been people who are
Roberts,
local.
That's what it was. Thank you. It was Roberts.
Oh, Roberts. Very nice.
Thank you. Yes, it was Roberts.
I remember Roberts.
Hold on. Don't say anything. I got to turn this browser on so this chat stays on. There we go.
Yeah.
You're good.
Some of my favorite bass players have just been, like, local dudes where I show up and I want to like check something out, or you're just showing up and then you see a guy and you're like, whoa, that guy is really good. That's really cool. I forgot to say Les Claypool earlier because I'm forgetful in the moment, but heck yeah, dude. Les Claypool. One of my favorite guys when I first moved to the cities was there was this jam band called PB and the Jam.
I remember them.
And they changed their name to New Sound Underground. In the first iteration, there was
Shout out to Greg, by the way, Ritual Madness podcast.
Heck yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Greg. And then there was this guy. His name's Chris Honeycutt. I think he passed away a year or two ago. But he was a really, really good, solid bass player. And I used to really enjoy. I lived down the street from the Whiskey Junction. We would go down there, my roommates and I, and we would check out PB and the Jam on Sunday nights. And
do you remember?
They'd play all the time. And then who's the guy who plays with Corey Wong now? Sonny. It's Sonny T. I think he plays.
Is he the bass player?
I think he plays
Black
at
dude?
bunkers too
Black
sometimes. Yeah, big hair,
Absolute
white bass, left-hand bass player, monster,
absolute fucking tyrant.
monster bass player. I remember
Absolute fucking tyrannical.
the first time I
bass.
saw him play was with I think he played with the Alex Rossi trio down. I saw him fill in one night, or he was in the new band of them down at Glick's, and it was like a different iteration of the band I hadn't seen yet, and it was the first time I had seen him, and I just sat there and I was like, oh, pick your jaw up, oh, close your mouth, oh, close your mouth. The bass player's, oh, close your mouth. He was like, damn, that guy could.
You're like a South Park episode when they met the fucking teen band when all the girls are just.
Yeah. That guy's really good. So, yeah, it's hard for me to pick favorites because I'm changing all the time. But that dude, whoa.
Steve Post.
That guy is a monster.
Steve Post. Ritual Madness is saying Steve Post.
Okay.
Who's Steve Post?
I don't know.
He says
who Steve
great
Post
local
is.
bass player.
Okay, he must be a great local bass player.
Who's he
Hey,
play
that's
for,
a
Greg?
Steve. Remember we were talking about
we don't say Steve. We don't say the name Steve on this podcast. I
Stefan.
arbitrarily banned the name Steve.
Stefan.
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 Steph is okay. Stephen is okay, but Steve is banned forever.
Yeah, dude.
Arbitrarily. I
mean, if we're
no
being
Steve
honest,
has ever
does
done
anybody
anything bad
really
to me.
like bass players anyway?
Here's the thing: is no.
Besides
the
Les
answer's no.
Claypool,
The answer's no. But
does Les Claypool count as a bass player?
But let me put it this way: bass players are like the pans of the kitchen.
From Dumpster Juice, he says.
Oh, I know those guys, dude. So that girl Krista I was joking about earlier,
Okay,
her cousin is in that band.
nice.
Yeah, I'm still cool with those guys, by the way.
I don't know Dumpster Juice.
Even after the breakup,
The band.
Dumpster Juice is one of those bands that's been in this town for 30 fucking years.
Okay.
Every single person in this town worth their weight in salt before the year 2000 played a show with them. And if you didn't, then you hadn't really done anything in this town. Like you would only, you know what I mean? Like those bands are like, oh yeah, we're doing shit. And it's like, you dig a little deeper and they played 7 total shows. It's like, y'all ain't doing shit. You just started.
Yeah.
Dumpster Juice was that band where every single person had played with Dumpster Juice at some point in time.
Nice.
But yeah, even after the breakup with that crazy ex-girlfriend, I was still cool with the guys in Dumpster Juice.
There's a lot
That's
of
how crazy she
really
was.
cool bands and good players here. Yeah.
That's the biggest theme of this podcast, I
Fieldy.
think. Ooh, Fieldy. I think he's got to be maybe... Okay, I'm not a bass player.
Yeah.
But as a musician, I would never say he's one of the best bass players of all time, but I will say he's one of the more important bass players of all time because of the amount of kids he inspired to pick up the bass guitar.
Oh, totally.
That's what I'll say.
Dude, I remember
and I'll fight you guys.
Beginning internet days, pre-internet days, like paging through Musician's Friend catalog for me, and every time, like, for some reason, I used to just hate 5-string basses because I was weird and 4 or 6 even numbers. Anyway, and I would always look at the Fieldy 5-string bass and I was like, man, that bass looks cool. That bass is killer. I would totally get one of those. But he has a voice. He has like a different thing that he knew he had to do because like Korn was like big, like we drop tune 7-string guitars like back in the day before it was a big thing, right? Before gent was a thing.
Isn't it weird
pre-gent.
Isn't it weird that like nu metal plus Meshuggah equals gent? Isn't that weird?
It is.
Isn't that weird?
But it's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. It's cool. Yeah.
Ooh, Ryan Martini from Mudvayne.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yep. Yep. Everybody knows. Everybody knows it. Yeah. No, that was cool, dude. There's so many cool.
I feel like the theme here, though.
Players.
I feel like the theme of this discussion is not going old school classic. Like I mentioned, what's his fuck from Van Halen. I meant
Mark
that,
Anthony. Yeah.
I meant that as a way of like learning how to fit in and cut through the mix in a way that's not impeding other.
Yeah.
Because he had Alex and Eddie to try to. Because here's the other thing: bass players. So you asked, does anybody really like bass players? The short answer is no.
No.
But they're like the pans of the kitchen, right? Like a good set of pans is one of a chef's best assets. A good set of knives
Your
like,
best bass player, somebody you don't even notice.
Exactly. So for like three of my favorite bands of all time, Protest the Hero, Misery Signals, and Coheed and Cambria, all have absolute elite level bass players. And I'll fight anybody in the streets over this. Like, tell me, go listen to any of those three bands and tell me their bass player isn't one of the best in the world. Dirty Loops. You know Dirty Loops? Oh,
man.
That motherfucker. Tell me the dude's... What's the dude's name from Dirty Loops?
The dude from Dirty Loops is... Yeah, he's good. There's so many. I was thinking about... I'm always shocked. Like, the couple times I've gone to see, like... Not a huge fan here, but, like, Trivium. And what's that guy's name? Like, Paulo. And you, like, watch him, you're like, that guy... Like, this is what he does.
Anybody who's named Paulo is... automatically dope at whatever
awesome
the fuck he chooses to do.
But if somebody's ever
he could be a great architect.
Whenever
or a
someone's
chef.
like bass player, like if you were gonna like be a great bass player, like who would you want to be? Like the first name, no matter what, I'm just like, well, James Jamerson is like kind of like the most like seems to be super quintessential.
What about dude from Dave Matthews Band?
I don't know anything about Dave Matthews Band.
Dude, so they're like the butt of every joke.
They are. And I know they're tight, and I know they're good, and I know I've never listened to it.
Carter Beauford.
And I know that Carter Beauford plays drums in that band, and that I don't care.
He's arguably the best drummer on the planet. Like,
yeah.
Like, if anybody wants to say Carter Beauford can't compete with a guy like a Neil Peart or Mike Portnoy or name your drummer, your drummer, I will legitimately put Carter Beauford as my fucking Pokemon into that circle.
Okay. What about Dennis Chambers?
Who's Dennis Chambers?
What?
I know that name, but
you know Dennis Chambers.
Yeah, I know that name.
Oh yeah, he's a big session guy.
He's
tons of funk, soul, groove, stuff.
I'd have to see his face.
Rhythm R&B.
I'm just bad with names.
I saw Dennis Chambers once with Victor Wooten.
Ooh, do they have that big YouTube special?
Well,
it's like an hour and a half long, and it's those two fucking around.
It could be.
It used to be a drum DVD or a bass DVD. That's
probably.
Guitar Center.
I think it was maybe Dennis Chambers on that. Yeah.
I think I know exactly the specific.
Yeah, I saw those two once
about.
at Dakota together. Wow.
So let's take this a step further, guys, because we're having a great thoughts on playing fretless bass. Well, answer that, and then I got a follow-up question.
I used to play fretless bass at the end of college, so I played in this. The 7-piece band I mentioned earlier. It was like this funk cover band. It was a fun thing to do in college. We had a ton of fun, super fun, and I used to play fretless in it all the time because it gave me more tonal, I don't know, like options.
Sure.
And it was way cool. And I was just kind of like, wasn't getting bored, but I was like, I'm kind of ready to like do something that's like a little bit more difficult. Fretless bass was super cool, and it's cool because it gives you like a different tonality. Like if you wanted to go super death metal, like that first second Obscura record.
I got one
where
for
they're like, John Paul Thessalin or whatever his name is.
Shout out to the Laranaga brothers.
Yeah,
we're still not saying that right, but shout out to them because you just inspired me.
Oh man, Chris
great
Squire.
bass player.
Somebody said Chris Squire.
Hold on. We'll get to Chris Squire. I gotta say this: great bass player that nobody knows of, Jake Muley.
Oh, Jake Muley.
Jacob Muley is one of the best bass players on the planet.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows who he is.
Unless you know him.
He's originally from Minnesota. The reason I know he's the shit is because Prince is an impossible person to please. And Prince wanted to be in a band with this girl named Ida, or Ida, depending on how you pronounce it. She said both were okay. So Ida or Ida. Ida was Prince's bass player for a while. And she would come and hang out with me and Jake at Guitar Center.
Okay.
And those two would jam together. And I couldn't play bass for shit. So I would just sit there and hang out. And we'd
Did you work at the store with Jake?
Yeah, in Edina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I was the department manager. He was my assistant manager. Technically, Jake was my boss, even though I was the department manager. And like everything was my call, right? Like,
yeah.
Jake was technically my boss. So he never did, but he could easily overrule me at any time. But he was that dope of a person where he was like, if this is what you want, this is what we're doing.
100%
and he'd back me up into the fucking fire. I love Jake.
Yeah.
Dude, here's my point. Both of Prince's bass players. So there's a big black dude and Ida.
Yep.
Both of them would come buy gear from me because I was the department manager and they knew me from hanging out. And both of them would like literally be sitting there and they'd like almost look over their shoulder. And not literally, but they'd almost look over their shoulder to make sure nobody was listening. And they'd go, listen, man, that Jake dude. He's one of the best bass players I've ever.
He's cat's meow.
They would say shit like he's one of the best bass players I've ever seen in my life. And these are already the top of the mountain world-class musicians. And this is my boy who's working at Guitar Center with me. He's the original bass player from Reaping Asmodea.
Yeah. Whenever you go to talk to that guy and you just look at him and he's like smiling at you, you're like, God, you're such a great guy.
I really bonded him with him when I went through the breakup with that same crazy girlfriend I was mentioning.
Oh man,
earlier.
she keeps coming up.
She does. It's a weird theme tonight. I went through a weird...
Maybe Kristen shouldn't be allowed. Is that the name? Maybe that name shouldn't be allowed on your podcast instead of Steve.
No, so she's the Voldemort.
I made Steve up. I made
the Steve thing up out of nowhere.
Poor Steve's.
We always do something stupid on this podcast. I either ask some crazy weird question like, why are you such a big Putin fan?
Sanders says Muley was in every band, and this is true.
Muley might have been in every band because it's like drummers, right? When you get a great
band,
one,
Wikipedia,
everybody wants
all of them say Muley.
But we had this crazy bonding thing because he had some issues back in the day, and he's pretty open about it. I'm not talking out of school here. He had some issues back in the day with mental health and like self-confidence and suicide and shit. And I typically didn't until I went through this one breakup with this girl.
Yeah.
And she made my life so bad.
Yeah.
That I was legitimately suicidal. And he's the one who got me through that and got me out of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I owe a lot to Muley. Still to this day, man. If that guy ever needed anything.
He's a good dude. He's got some cool new bands out.
Especially in the zombie apocalypse. If Muley ever needed anything. Like I've got debts to pay to Muley. Like, let me just put it that way. Some old Vietnam shit. Like, I owe him my life. I owe him my life.
He's got some cool bands out in Colorado now, I think, right?
Yeah, he's out in Denver. He went out. It was weird. He went out there to follow his girl because she was a dope baker. And I don't know if she went out there for baking, but she went out there and she was dope. He went out there. They eventually broke up. He got into IT. So he's sort of like, his shit's weird because he like sort of quit music to get into IT, which was this long con on himself to make enough money to put himself in a position to get back serious about music without having to worry about money. Does that make sense?
Yeah. He was super nice. I actually reached out to him during COVID when I was teaching, and I was like, I need to do something. I did some like career interview stuff. And I was like, dude, I think I put out a thing on like Facebook. I was like, hey, I'm doing stuff for technical careers. Like, who can I talk to? And he totally volunteered. And shout out to him. I think his interview that I did with him, which was, geared at 12-year-olds or whatever.
So let's back up here a little bit.
He did an awesome interview with me. Great dude. That's all I wanted to say.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to make sure that we're not neglecting these comments. Old school bassist, no one better than Chris Squire.
Heck yeah, dude. Chris Squire, yes. Very formative for me as a bass player. I still listen to a lot of Yes nowadays. Did you know that the Yes bass tone is a thing? I read this in a magazine once, so it's probably bullshit. But I read in a magazine that apparently there was some short in a soundboard when they mixed one of their albums and they couldn't hear the bass very well. So they like cranked the gain, or they cranked some kind of shit out of his bass. Like, well, we can't hear it. They turned it way up. And then when they sent it out to post or whatever, and it came back, the bass was just cranked in the mix. And then they finally figured out, like, well, shoot, it's because the mixer had a short or whatever in this resistor or something weird, some analog shit. And they were like, everyone loved it. They're like, well, we can't remix it. We already paid for it and we don't have enough money. Like, we just got to send it out. And everybody loved it.
I actually believe that.
And that's why the bass tone in Yes is always right in the front.
I actually believe that.
Isn't that crazy?
I actually believe that 100%. I think things like that happened a lot back in the day. Happy accidents.
Just happy accidents, weird like that.
Man.
And that's the magic of it.
Yeah. Because not everything was perfect all the time.
Yeah, loved Chris Squire. Man, what a loss. Love Yes. Steve Howe era Yes is my... Love that stuff.
Yeah, I totally believe that. Because I remember hearing about how basically we got distortion amps ever.
Yeah.
Where a similar story of Iommi from Black Sabbath. I think he couldn't hear his amp at a gig, so he kept turning it up, and then he literally blew the speaker. Yep. So he literally had the rippling of the speaker, a distorted sound, and then the sound guy figured it out, whatever the problem was. So then all of a sudden they turned that up, and the band just loved it. So he went in and started cutting speakers to try to replicate the sound from that night. And it took him years, and he never really got it. And he started going into guitar shops looking for amps that would intentionally distort themselves.
Yeah.
And everyone thought he was crazy. And I can't remember who he hooked up with, but he hooked up with some guy who kind of like helped him get in to this area. And I don't want to try to tell the end of the story because I don't really remember it, because a lot of it's literally legend.
We're historians.
A lot of it's legend.
Historians of rock.
A lot of it's legend, and I've heard like 4, 5, 6 different versions of this story. Only one of them sounds plausible, and it's the one I'm trying to tell right now, which was like it was a series of accidents and then chasing down how to replicate that accident over and over and over again. It's interesting how back in the day, our sounds and tones would kind of evolve organically like that, almost like evolution. Like it would be random,
just a fun mishap.
Like
and
feedback.
Then
how do we do that again?
Just like how feedback was discovered.
Really?
Do you know about that?
No.
That was the Beatles.
Tell us the story.
That was I believe internet. You're wrong. You're dumb. Anyway, I think the feedback was first kind of created and discovered because of the Beatles. The Beatles had to have those loud amplifiers because, oh my God, nobody could hear them. And like Paul or John or somebody like leaned their guitar against their amps, and nobody knew. All of a sudden there was that ring, and they were like, what is that? We don't know. And then they touched their strings, and they finally figured out, like, oh, well, the amplifier was, the speakers were making the guitar strings buzz, and that was the feedback. And they figured out, like, oh, this is a thing. This is a thing that people can do. And then, God, what was that song? Was that like Revolution or USSR or something like that? I think they did it on purpose. And that was like one of the first songs, I think, I'm probably wrong, but that had like intentional feedback. Or maybe it was back in the USSR. I'm
still waiting for that
moment.
That's
a ripping tune.
I'm still waiting for that moment where I finally get the fucking Beatles. You know, like everybody else.
You don't have to get the Beatles. It's just cool. They only invented like 20 genres of music.
Well, and here's why I say that, though, because I've talked about this, and the regular viewers and listeners know exactly what I'm about to say. The new people, they're the only ones that are going to be even remotely intrigued by this.
Must leave.
I admit on a regular basis that if I don't like music, there's a high chance I'm literally not ready for it. Like Elton John, for example. I hated Elton John for like 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was in my mid-20s and absolutely became a monster Elton John fan.
Who is the number one band or musician that no one expects that you love?
For me, it would probably be Elton John, other than the fact that I just admitted that. So if you made me pick another one, see, it's tough for me because I talk so much, right? I have so much exposure on this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm already
I don't
super
expose
public.
myself very much. Unless I'm up north and it's northern exposure.
So, great TV show.
I'm sorry.
So what would a band be surprised where I'm like, yeah, I actually really like that band. I think a lot of people, based on my preferences and based on shit, I'd say any reggae.
Okay.
I think a lot of people would still be surprised that I actually like reggae, especially if you knew me 15, 20 years ago, because I hated reggae.
I used to really like dub, original dub, like King Tubby.
What is dub versus dubstep? I don't know the difference.
One is made with cool, like reggae type acoustic, like acoustic. I don't know. I shouldn't say acoustic. Like traditional instruments, reggae style, versus like this is a mixing. I don't know. I don't understand.
So is dub
Dub is like a subgenre
step
almost
between
of
reggae and reggaeton?
Sure. This is not. I'm not proclaiming to be an expert
because reggaeton sucks.
I'm thinking like dub from like the 70s.
Reggaeton to me is shitty electronic music where people try to capture the vibe of reggae.
I'm thinking pre-electronic. Like
never
electronic computers. I'm thinking more like
John Mayer Trio, Fight Me.
He's right. That Sanders Fault. I really got into John Mayer Trio when he told me about it. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And this is like 10, 15 years ago. I don't know, 10 years ago, I guess. And then you listen to it and you're like, oh man, John Mayer Trio is just like some deep, heavy blues shit. It's way cool.
Well, John Mayer's elite.
Yeah, he's at a different level.
He's easy to hate, like for a lot of reasons. I mean, he's good looking. He's extremely talented. He went to Juilliard
with the Dead. I don't really care that much about the Grateful Dead, but he toured with the Dead.
He also said his dick is a white supremacist. Do you guys remember this? I hope you guys remember this. This is real. I'm not making this up. I'm not even exaggerating this. This fucking happened. This is real life. This is why John Mayer kind of fell out of the old...
well, he moved to Montana, so we'll cut him some slack.
Well, this is pre-cancel culture. This is pre-cancel culture. Like he tweeted or said publicly in an interview or something that his dick is a white supremacist. Because he was basically trying to say he is only attracted to white girls. And
he owns someone named Richard?
Dude, I'm just saying, man, like...
Maybe it's his dog.
It's a bad look.
Got a
no matter what,
bad dog named Richard.
Here's what I really think. I think he was spending too much time with Dave Chappelle and started to fancy himself a comedian.
Oh, what a great skit. We lost track of our comments. We got lost at Chris Squire.
Oh, John Mayer Trio, Fight Me.
John Mayer
no, you're right. There is one more comment.
Something in there.
There is one more comment. You're right.
I don't want to blow him off. Tone Vault. This is your sponsor.
That is true, but I have zero obligation.
Trying to help you out, Sealy.
Hold on. We'll do this the right way. So, Matt Sealy, who is also the owner of Tone Vault Audio and Media, who is in fact a sponsor of this podcast.
Get your cables here. Get your cables.
Get your cables, yeah.
Get your cables here, Tone Vault.
Get your cables, yeah.
You like cables here? Get your cables here, Tone Vault. Can you see Matt Sealy at a Twins game?
Cables,
just walking down the aisle. Get your cables here. Get your cables. Oh, he's got the smile.
Fucking XLRs.
Yeah, he's got the smile and the personality for it. Yeah, he could do it. Get your cables here. Get your cables. Someone's like, I'll take one of those patch cables. He just smiles at him. Here you go. This one's on the house. He's got that slick haircut.
Just whipping cables like they're t-shirts across the room. I Am Vengeance was my vision. This is what he says. And I felt like you guys were all terrible band members. But honestly, he didn't say that.
Well, you're not wrong. Just kidding.
No, he says, I Am Vengeance was my vision, and I always felt like it was represented quite well. But honestly, I was always hopeful the second album was all band and less me. Maybe he meant more band and less me. Period. Collaboration is way more important when you're around talent. And I agree with that 100%.
We were talking about collaboration earlier.
Yeah, versus like the idea of knowing your role, right?
That's a fun album. I don't know if Sealy, chime in. Did you ever put out or like release any of the second album tracks? Because I heard a lot of them and they were cool. They're good.
What was so weird because like I didn't even put when Matt approached me about sponsoring the podcast.
Get your cables here.
Get your cables here. I thought it was super interesting because I didn't even realize it was the same guy in the same band that I was potentially going to audition for like 3 or 4, 5, 6 years before that. It was just another example of the small world that we live in here in this town.
Super small.
And how absolutely intertwined things can be. And it was another example of like, man, I really did fuck up when I was a young man. Because I'm still kind of a dick now.
Yeah, hindsight's 20/20.
But everybody knows now, like, yeah, Jared's kind of a dick, but at the end of the day, he's a good dude. And like he will go out of his way to help other people. Like everybody actually knows that now, but people didn't know that back then. And I was more of a dick. I was more obnoxious. I was more of a selfish prick.
You were a big Richard, huh?
I was a big Richard. And it really, really did hurt me. Because all you have to do is piss off a handful of people, and that spider web can absolutely follow you for years in this town. Because it is a small town.
It's part of being a young person, small town. Yeah, sometimes some things happen and you're not proud of them, and
there's 4 million people in this city. I know Google doesn't agree with this, but Google can go eat my ass.
Sanders says that's about both of us.
He says, I think you're nice, but a terrible person.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll kind of take that. That's sort of a win, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, whatever. But Matt Sealy's not a terrible person. He's selling cables at Twins games this summer, I heard now.
I heard
Get your cables here. Can you see him?
He's pitching his Twins cables.
Oh, man. I want to see that. I want to see like a Tone Vault audio patch on like a sweet popcorn striped shirt, like a popcorn box says Tone Vault audio.
That would be amazing. If
I'd wear that shirt.
If Sealy showed up, like, honestly, I would settle for Sealy showing
Get your
up.
patch cables here.
I would settle for Sealy showing up at a local metal show with like a 1950s cigarette tray around his shoulders.
Get your patch cables here. Patch cables. What do you want? 6 inches, 1 foot, 3 feet? What do you need? Custom made just for you.
If you want the 25 footers, we got those in box here.
Got 25 footers. You buy 2, get 1 free. That's not a deal. We're just making this up.
No, but you do get 15% off if you use my discount code at
heck yeah.
Fucking whatever the website is. I can't fucking tone-vault.com/JSE. Is that what it is, Matt?
I hope it's in your description.
God, fucking thank God for Sanders being in chat. I think you're nice, but a terrible person.
What a guy. Hey, it's my turn to do pee break. You should play either a Cobra song or a Toledo song. If you should have sent me.
You should have sent me a link.
Oh man, sorry, I did
son
not.
Of an Amber
I
Heard.
was a bad pre-guest and did not send any links.
Let's see if we can figure. Hold on. Oh no, let's not do.
Look
the
at those
outro.
two.
Let's not do the outro.
One of them looks like a piece of raw beef. Gross. Uncooked.
That's rude of you to say that about me.
Oh, definitely not.
You look
definitely not rude. No,
you look like a.
Hey, I got 3 days of work left. We're getting into it here. I don't really care.
You look like a beautifully uncooked chicken sausage.
Oh, man. I look like a singles leftover at your small town bar who's 37.
With little pieces of habanero in the wrapper. That's what your shirt looks like. You got little pieces
Got to let the hamburger out. The hamburger's out for free tonight. Free hamburger at Aldi's tonight, everybody. Come on down.
Plaid makes you look like an uncooked bratwurst.
Who said that, Sanders?
No, that's my comment.
That's your comment? I like
That's
that.
my comment, sir.
I'm an uncooked bratwurst. Toss me on the grill. Heat me up. See what happens.
That's okay. I look like a fucking... I look like an albino praying mantis.
Your shirt is green. We'll give you that.
All right, let's see if we can find...
Cobra Czar just put out a song. Our last song we just put out on the Bandcamp was super cool.
That one's tough. Bandcamp is tough.
Okay, gotcha.
You got something on YouTube?
We do have something on YouTube. We got the Light in the Ocean has the whole album on YouTube.
Oh, that's
what do you want? You want something lighter? Or you want the heavier one?
Let's do something heavy because I'm in that kind of mood. But
do Big Beef. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. The ending is really cool. You should have the album for the whole. Big Beef. Big Beef or Cyclops?
Bro.
You want Big Beef.
Bro. I can't play the whole album.
So you can't play the whole album. Big Beef is the last one. It should be on there
but I
somewhere.
gotta find the actual. That's not gonna work, dude. We're just gonna play something from Cobra Czar then.
You could play the first song on Things Inside. Has got some heavy bits. Just play the first song off the Toledo album. Things Inside. This one goes out to.
Well, it's not that easy though, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Without you pre-sending these to me, we're trying to do this.
This is me being unprepared.
Here's what we're gonna do.
I look like the almond brother that died post-death. Damn it.
Cobra Czar YouTube. Cobra Czar YouTube. This is how this is going to work. This is the shit show that you guys are witnessing. Lyons looks like an almond brother that died post-death.
I'll take that. That's actually a compliment.
Sanders, I love you, buddy.
Just headed down to the
one of the
post.
jokes for the longest time
life.
is that nobody knew Sanders' fucking first name.
Oh yeah.
So for we had it steadily going, actually. Like, this is great. We were on the podcast and we decided to make this a joke. Actually, I think we decided this was before the podcast. And we had it going for a solid 6 to 9 months on Facebook, where every single post referring to him intentionally had a different J name in front of Sanders. And
that's good.
Man, I think we hit the bottom of the barrel, and then people just felt we all kind of felt and nobody talked about it.
Oh, he loved it.
We all just kind of felt like, okay, we beat this horse to death and we'll move on. But honestly, man, that one, my favorite one, I don't remember. I think it was him, Julius Sanders.
That's amazing.
I think he came up with that one. All right, so we're going to do Faith and Failure.
This is an old one. Wow, throwing it back.
I got to copy this link, though. This is the key here. This is a very weird, convoluted way we have to do this. Since
we don't even play this song anymore.
Amber Heard's son over here. Oh, that's not what we want to do. Didn't send me the link in advance.
My bad. Next time.
It is your bed. It's okay.
It's all right.
It's okay.
It's just like finishing my work here. That's all.
It's okay. You're just the only one to blame about this.
I am. It's okay. I'm okay with facing my failures. There's a lot of them.
That's my whole life, dude.
It's my whole life. Not my guitars, though. I will say that I love my guitars. You should buy a guitar. Right. If you're watching this,
they can see up on the
me.
Screen now. They can see what we're trying to do here in the background. It sounds a bit like Zach Galifianakis. You sound like Zach Galifianakis?
My band sounds like Zach Galifianakis? That's cool. Zach Galifianakis is
You
pudgy.
gotta piss. Go piss.
He's
I can
pudgy.
see it. I can see
wears flannel. He's got a beard.
I can see it, dude.
He doesn't react well in most social situations. I'm just kidding. Zach Galifianakis is great.
Your ability to kill exactly the amount of time we needed to load up that clip.
Jared Singer's so ready to get rid of me out of his basement. You guys
Not at all.
know I'd sing.
Not
Jared
at all.
Singer, do you like hard things? Do you like hard G's? I was going to ask you that earlier. If somebody comes up to you and they're like, "Hi, your name's Jared Singer." Do you like that? Do you like hard things or do you like soft things?
Definitely when it comes to my name, soft.
Okay, he likes soft
right,
when it comes to his name.
Go piss. You fucking weirdo. I love you, man. There we go. Oh. Yep, we chased all of our viewers off with your evil satanic death music.
Yes, this is what I do. So yeah, that's cool. That's old school cover tune. We don't play that one too much anymore, but we are playing.
You're not even in that video, and neither is Tim Java.
No, Tim Java's not in that video. I am definitely in that video. They just don't show me very much because I have shorter hair and I'm the most unattractive person in our band, if we're being honest. So
that's not true at all.
Well, I also play bass, and so nobody cares about that.
How dare you talk about yourself like that?
You like beef.
I find you
beefcake
adorable. If I was even remotely gay, I would snuggle up with you.
You would snuggle Michael Van Heel is what would happen.
I would snuggle with you so hard if I was even remotely gay.
The world's sexiest tree cutter, Michael Van Heel. But no, truth.
I don't get that joke.
Great.
I'm not in the wood community like you are.
No, Mikey. We just make a joke because Mikey's in the band.
You went inside baseball.
I went inside baseball. He's an arborist, but he cuts trees. He's a cool dude, sexy man. And if you want to see that sexy man and 4 other dudes who are trying to be like that, but not even close, you could come see us on July 7th at the Turf Club.